Chapter 21, Getting a Guild Card. Kano POV.
A few minutes later, I stopped holding my soul weapon up to the suns. I was going to ask Amma and Fia how I was supposed to put my soul weapon away, but just the thought entering my head caused the swords and chains to disappear like they were never there. So that's how I do that.
So, Kino.
I looked up at Fia. She was smiling at me and she seemed to be holding in some laughter. I pouted grumpily at her. What?
Heh. Why don't we keep with the momentum of this and go and get you your guild card today? I know you've been wanting to get it since your 10th birthday.
Sounds fine to me. Fia nodded at me and turned to go back inside. When I was sure she wasn't looking at me, I pumped my fist in triumph.
You're cute, Kino. Makes me want to just pull you into a hug and never let go.
I wouldn't mind if that could be arranged.
I...
Hee. While enjoying the flustered Amma noises, I followed Fia inside. The two of us got dressed for the day, then I fed Hugin and Moonin. After they finished eating, they flapped their wings and landed on each of my shoulders.
Caw. Squawk. Caw. Caw. Squawk.
Yes, you two, I'm absolutely fine. A bit tired, but not enough to hamper anything.
Caw.
I get it. Stop always doing that in my ears.
Mischievous little birds, aren't they?
Nah, they are just worried about me, I think. Hugin frantically bobbed its head while Moonin used one of its wings and tried to pat my head with it.
You're teaching them weird things.
Lies and slander. And besides, Pram is the one that taught them how to pat people's heads. She likes doing that.
I know it's not the case, but it sometimes feels like it's the other way around, and she enjoys receiving pats more.
I won't deny that. We all chuckled at that, and then left our home. As soon as we stepped out of the door, a thought came to me. Guild cards are like that orb thing that showed me that status thing, right? Does that mean that I'll have to somehow hide my title of Amma's Fated One and her divine protection, and the other things that mortals shouldn't normally have?
Not really. To put it in a somewhat easy-to-understand way, the information on a guild card only gives the basic information on the surface of one's soul. Your divine protection, Fated One title, and authorities are things that reside in the core of your soul. So something like a guild card won't be able to pick up on them.
But guild cards have a title section, don't they?
Titles are a weird thing, Kino. Nobody, not even us gods, really know the most intricate working of them. We do know, however, that there are 3 types. The first and rarest type is like the Fated One title. It resides in the deepest part of your soul and usually have effects that hold a lot of power or potential, like how you having the title of being my Fated One will allow you to become a goddess.
Then there are titles with weaker effects and settle on the surface of the soul. These titles are things like monster-slaying titles that make you more intimidating to monsters of the same type as the Slayer title.
Then there is the third type. These come about when enough people, or people deemed important enough, give them to someone. For example, if you were in a rural village and single-handedly saved it from destruction by monsters or something, the people would probably call you a hero, and if enough of them call you that and actually believe it, you'd get the title hero of rural village.
The second and third types can appear on guild cards, while the first type doesn't. So, you have no need to worry about those 2 things becoming public knowledge. Of course, whoever helps make the card will learn your full name. But I don't think that will be a problem, since you can just hide the name Kino after the fact.
Just as soon as we finished this conversation, we entered onto a busy street. Since it was still early, the people that roamed about were mostly shop owners, or people getting things to eat before heading off to work. A few waved at us in greeting, and Fia waved back while I gave a small nod of greeting. I've grown used to the people of the city over the years we've lived here, but my princess personality, as Fia calls it, has become such an unbreakable habit for me that it's impossible for me to not act this way unless I'm alone with people I trust absolutely.
Don't worry, Kino. I've known Randall for a long time. You can at least let him know your name.
Okay, I mean, there isn't really any meaning in hiding my name aside from me just wanting only people really close to me to know it. It doesn't help keep any secret, and it's not like I'll be hunted down if it spreads. But I'm gonna try to keep it hidden for as long as I can. I feel entitled to at least this much.
You are entitled to so much more, but I think this much is fine.
I agree with Rasu.
It was then that we finally reached the doors to the guild hall. We went inside and got several glances from people that were here. Just like on the way here, several people waved to us in greeting, and we responded in kind. We made our way to the staircase and descended. Once we made it to the second floor, we went to one of the homunculi that were going about their business, and Fia asked it to let Randall know we were here. It bowed in acknowledgement and left. Several minutes later it returned and said that Guildmaster Randall was waiting for us. When we got to his office door, we were led inside and found Randall sitting on one of the seats while drinking a cup of this world's version of coffee.
A fine morning, my friends, wouldn't you agree?
It is indeed.
I agree. It has been quite the fortuitous morning.
As eloquent as always, little Miss Okami. I'd very much like it if you'd relax more when we meet. I've heard rumors that you are almost a completely different person when with little Pram.
While I do trust you, Sir Randall, it's become an ingrained habit. Please don't think I'm being rude by showing you such formality in the times we meet.
I see. Then I can only hope that one day you'll find me good enough company to get around this habit. Now, I assume you've both come here today for something more than just a peaceful chat.
Like you promised 5 years ago, we're here to get her guild card.
Ah, so that's what it is. It's hard to believe that 5 years have passed already. Oh, how time slips by.
Randall stood from his seat and went over to his desk. There he opened a drawer and pulled out a silvery card and some kind of big needle. He then approached me and placed both of them in front of me. Hugin and Munin eyed the shiny objects with a lot of interest. You may not take them, my feathered friends. They both ruffled their feathers in dejection.
Such an interesting thing, these two. Are they truly normal steel feather ravens?
Honestly, I'm not too sure about that anymore myself. I know normal ones are smart, but these two seem a bit too smart.
Ho ho. If even you are unsure, then they must be special. But enough about them. I'll explain what needs to be done. Miss Okami, all you need do is draw blood from the place closest to your soul with this needle, then let the blood drip onto the card. Worry not, for I shall excuse myself while you do this.
I nodded my head, and Randall left the room.
Want me to help you? Some people really struggle doing this.
I got it. I stood from the seat I was sitting on and removed my shirt. I then picked up the needle and stabbed myself in the chest. It stung a bit, but not enough to really leave any lingering pain of discomfort. About 3 seconds after I did this, the needle went from silver to red. I removed it from my chest and tapped it onto the silver card. The card shone for a minute before changing color. It went from pure silver to a mix of blue, black, and gray. I then put my shirt back on, and we called Randall to come back into the room. He sat back down on his seat and picked up my new guild card.
Let's see. Oh ho. So Okami is your family name, and your actual name is Kino. And death magic is quite rare. As for why it's blue when you have no water affinity is strange. Also, I've never heard of a soul weapon with such an interesting name. Do you mind if I see it?
Before any of that, I would like to request you keep my first name to yourself.
Of course, little Miss Okami. I won't pry.
I nodded my thanks to him, then glanced at Fia. She nodded to me, and I moved my shoulders a little, signaling Hugin and Munin to move off of them for a bit. Once they moved, conveniently next to something shiny, I opened my hands and wished for my soul weapon to appear. This time, instead of the gradual manifestation, it was practically immediate. Randall looked at the two swords connected to chains with a serious look on his face.
Quite remarkable. These are some of the most unique soul weapons I've seen in my many years walking this world. And if you don't mind a comparison, they somewhat resemble Miss Fiametta's soul weapon. Not in shape, but if I had to put a word to it, quality.
I made my soul weapon vanish again, and Randall placed the guild card back on the table and slid it over to me. I picked it up and looked at it.
Name: Kino Okami. Sex: female. Race: Kitsune. Status: normal. Magic. Affinities: solar, death, illusion. Soul weapon: cerulean sun blades.
I put it away in a pocket after reading it over and making a mental note to ask how to hide things on it later. Fia then took over the conversation and spoke with Randall mostly about the past, but closer to the end of the conversation, they moved on to what I could and couldn't do with my guild card.
Chaos Realm.
So tired. Fia really talks a lot when she's with friends.
That conversation was definitely boring to sit through. But at least Hugin and Moonin were there to help distract you for a while. It's a shame they can't come here yet.
Oh, aye. Who said you could decide they will eventually?
They won't?
I never said that. I just asked why Luna was making arbitrary decisions in our home.
Don't be like that. She just took into consideration how flexible you keep rules in here and made an observation.
Am I really that loose with the rules and what I allow into our home?
Luna, pretty much. No need to look so down. I, for one, know you're only like that when it comes to your close friends, so it's fine. You know I'd step in to mediate things if they start to get out of hand.
Nods. Head in agreement. Yeah, you're right.
Wow, you're good at that. Though I don't get why you wanted them to start getting all flirty.
It was a teaching moment for you, Kino. This is just another form of intangible fluff.
I see. Very interesting.
Chapter 22, Kino Okami, the Snowfire Princess. Kino POV.
Fia and Randall's conversation dragged on for what felt like forever, but eventually they got back on track with the actual topic.
Apologies, little Miss Okami. Where were we on today's main topic?
What a guild card can be used for. I pulled my guild card back out of my pocket and placed it on the table.
For starters, the main thing is identification. You can get in and out of pretty much any city or large town by showing it. It also has a function that keeps track of how much money you currently have saved away with the guild. For more specifics, depending on which part or parts of the guild you affiliate yourself with, it has sub-functions. Since you will most likely sign up as an adventurer soon, I'll use that as an example. The guild card will notify you of any emergency quest that happens in the guild nearest your current location.
It was an impressive amount of things, but it also made me curious. How does all this work? I looked at both of them, but they refused to match my gaze. Neither of you know?
More like we never questioned it.
While I don't think it's the case with Miss Fiametta, guild cards have been around since before I was even born, and they've been such a normal thing in my life that I just accept it as part of the world.
Fia sent me a discreet sign that this wasn't a conversation that should be continued right now, so I decided to try and change the subject. Luckily, Hugin and Moonin stepped in to distract all of us. The two of them finally couldn't hold back and flew up to Randall's halo. Just before they could touch it, Fia hopped up and grabbed them. I deeply apologize for that.
Ho ho ho. No harm was done, so it's fine. It's not like I can feel anything through this annoying ring above me head anyway.
While he is fine with it, some angels aren't. So it's best if you teach these two not to do that in the future.
I understand. Hugin, Moonin, I'll make sure to educate the two of you thoroughly later.
Ka! Squawk!
With that out of the way and the guild card conversation concluded, I picked my card back up and was about to put it away when I noticed something that I didn't before. In the title section, that I assumed would be blank, since Fia and Amma reassured me that the Fated One title wouldn't be seen, was a title that read Snowfire Princess.
What's wrong, Kino? Why'd you freeze up like that?
Why do I have a title called Snowfire Princess?
Pfft.
Ho.
Ignoring that even Amma seemed amused by this, I doubled down on my questioning. What is this about, and why am I only now learning about it? And how long has this been a thing?
Ah ha ha ha.
Ho ho ho.
Since they weren't answering my questions and it seemed like they were both getting a kick out of it, I decided that I should get them to focus on the matter at hand. I let my heat control slip, and the room instantly became hotter. Then, I felt something in my soul yearning to be let out, so I summoned my cerulean sunblades, and the heat in the room increased even more. It was so hot in the room that the ends of Randall's beard started to smoke.
Miss Okami, please calm down. I'd very much like my beard to stay unburnt.
Then, Sir Randall, Miss Fiametta, one of you better start answering my questions. I, for one, am feeling quite chilly at the moment, so I may decide to turn up the heat a little bit more. Randall's face broke out into a panicked expression, and he started to stammer, though his words were practically nonsense. It seemed like he took a lot of pride in his beard and didn't wish for it to vanish in a plume of fire and ash. Since whatever noises he was making weren't helping the situation, Fia spoke up.
It's something that several of the adventurers started calling you about 3 years ago when you started milling about on your days off from training. The title caught on with other people from the guild, and it spread from there to the rest of the city. Now, most people call you that, though it's surprising that you've never heard people call you that before. We assumed you knew and just didn't care about it.
I mulled over her answer for a few seconds before putting my soul weapon away and reducing the heat from scorching to mildly toasty. I find that answer acceptable, for now. Randall's face became visibly relaxed once the heat was reduced, and his beard was no longer in any form of fiery danger. I then stood up, and Hugin and Moonin squirmed their way out of Fia's arms and flew to my shoulders. Continue your chat if you want, Miss Fiametta. I'm going home and seeing if Lady Pram is free. Moonin, stay here and report to me later if these two say anything I will find unsatisfactory about me, or if they start laughing again.
Squawk, squawk, caw!
Moonin flapped its wings once more and landed on Fia's head before staring at both her and Randall in turn. I nodded in satisfaction and left the room. Making my way out of the guild, I passed several people who started to whisper. Now that I knew people started calling me by some embarrassing title, I could hear it every time they spoke it. Every time that happened, I made the temperature rise a little bit around those people, just enough to make them slightly uncomfortable. Once I was far enough outside the guild, Amma started to speak again.
For the record, Kino, I also assumed you knew about it and didn't care.
Thing is, Amma, I actually kind of like the title, but I feel like if I didn't start setting a precedent that I don't like being arbitrarily called something, then I fear for what the future will bring.
I hate to break it to you, Kino, but as a goddess, things like that are going to happen to you too many times to count, so you'd better get used to it. I mean that with all the love and compassion I can muster, but still, it's a fact that it will happen.
Sigh, I guess you're right, but I'm still going to at least try to mitigate it for a while I still can.
Fine then. While I still believe you should just let it go, I'll still support you in your decision.
Thanks, Amma.
Chaos Realm.
Snowfire. Princess really is a fitting title.
Snow and princess coming from how she acts and fire due to how warm it is near her at all times, an actual fitting title for someone. I always thought adventurers had horrible naming sense.
I can't say anything since I agree on the horrible naming sense part.
Agreed. None of us can name anything well except maybe Atmos.
Honestly, I pictured her to be one of the worst at naming things.
Nope. That's why Gray picks up the slack in that department.
Figures.
Chapter 23, Magic. Kino POV.
When I made it back home, I found Pram sitting in front of the door. Before I could even say hello to her, she jumped up when she heard me approach and grabbed me into a tight hug.
Oh, Cammy!
While wincing a little at her yelling, I moved one of my hands and started patting her head while Hugin was attempting to regain its balance. Hello to you too, Pram. What did we talk about when it comes to you yelling like that when we see each other?
Not to do it so loud.
She let me go, grabbed her tail, and hid her face behind it. I chuckled at that. No need to do that, I'm not mad. She slowly moved her tail away, and then a look of confusion crossed her face.
Where's Hug?
Moonin.
Munin?
Keeping watch over Fia. Now let's go to the back, I want to show you something. A look of intrigue and excitement bloomed on Prom's face when I said that, and we both quickly ran to the back of the lodge. We both sat down on 2 tree stumps that we've used as chairs for a long time now, and Pram looked at me.
What are you going to show me? Is it fun? Is it a new game we can play?
Not a new game, but I did manage to manifest my soul weapon.
Yay! What is it? What is it? What is it?
I once again made my soul weapon appear, and stars immediately appeared in Pram's eyes.
Oh, I want to touch it. It looks so warm.
She then tried to reach out and touch my swords, but I made them vanish just before she managed to. No, I don't know what they can do to someone, so I don't want you touching them.
Wait. Does this mean you will finally get to learn magic as well? Have you tried it yet? Can I see it?
Guess now is as good a time as ever. Since Fia isn't here, it falls to me to teach you the whats and the hows.
I'm all ears, Amma.
Since it'll be easier to stop you from gaining a dependence on chance, I'll just start you on chantless magic. Do understand that only people I either bless or, in your case, give my divine protection can use chantless magic. By using it, you will stand out a little bit, but with you already being you, it won't matter in the long run. Anyway, we'll start with your solar magic, since it is the one that will be easiest for me to explain to you and for you to understand.
Okami, why are you just sitting there looking into space? Can you use magic or not yet?
Hang on, Pram, I'm trying to figure it out.
Okie.
Heh. Cute. Clears throat. Back to it then. For you, Kino, an image should be good. Imagine a ball of fire, and then make your mana build the image. After that, it all comes down to control of your mana. Your illusion magic will work the same, though that will need a perfectly clear image to work. As for death magic, I have no idea since it is the complete opposite of my life magic.
I nodded my head and closed my eyes. I did my best to picture a ball of fire that looked like a smaller version of my sun. When I opened my eyes, a ball of blue fire was floating in front of me.
How pretty.
I nodded my head, and the two of us got lost in staring at the magic fire. Even Hugin was mesmerized, though that could have also just been because it likes shiny things.
Oh, this will be fun. It's time to teach you everything I know about solar magic. I will have you so proficient in it that you can erase all of Fallheim with a snap of the finger. Kino, I want you to condense that ball of fire to as small as you can make it, then make it float around you slowly. Once you get used to that, increase the speed. Eventually, we'll have you add more, speed them up, and add things that will distract you. Like most of your past training with Fia, it's all about control and how much you have of it.
Isn't it too easy? I expected this to be way harder with the way Fia always talks about it.
Well, when I have you rapidly changing the shape of the fireballs, while moving multiple of them all at varying speed, while also doing my best to distract you, I doubt you'll find it easy. And besides, this is just the start and the most basic of basic spells. It can get way more complicated.
Okami, how did you do that? You're supposed to say words for magic to work.
Let's just say I'm a bit special. I'll tell you the secret someday. I was content to sit there and practice control like Amma wanted, but I got another idea that would accomplish the same thing. I stood up from my stump and looked at Pram. I got an idea, Pram.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to move the fireball, and you have to try to catch it. I don't mean actually touch it since I don't want to hurt you, so I'll make it disappear when I know you are about to catch it.
That sounds so fun. Let's start now, Okami.
Okay, and go! I started to move the tiny fireball around as fast as I could, and Pram ran after it. Since I was still extremely new to magic, Pram easily caught the ball. We continued to play like this until Pram was tired out and sat down before laying her head in my lap and falling asleep. I was tired as well, since concentrating on magic like I was is very taxing on the mind.
One day, I will claim my rightful spot on Kino's lap, so enjoy it while you can, Pram.
No need to be jealous, heh. Pram is my friend, not my fated one. Let her have this since you have everything else. I just wish my body was older.
Oh, Kino, don't think that. We may not be able to do adult things, but you are still cute and the perfect size to cuddle. If you stayed that small forever, I wouldn't care if we couldn't do anything else, as long as it was you that I'm spending time with.
But being small is inconvenient.
Ha. Anyway, it's fine to fall asleep now. Fia and Moonin are almost back.
I was pretty much already asleep at that point, so with that statement, the final strand of consciousness slipped.
Chaos Realm.
And now I'm here.
No rest for the fluffy after all.
That's fair. But I need to ask, How much more do I need to learn?
We've only breached the surface of it. We've covered most of the theoretical aspects of fluff, so we'll soon get to the practical part.
Yes!
Also, want me to teach you how to cook while we're at it? If you end up going on a journey, you'll need to learn since, unless you start out with a decent windfall, then eating out will be unsustainable when you can just hunt something and eat it in the field.
Depends. How good at cooking are you?
Foo. That's for me to know, and you to find out.
Chapter 24, Solar Convergence 2, Fluffy Boogaloo, Kino POV.
A year has passed since my soul weapon manifested, and I spent a lot of that time training on how to use it as well as my magic. Fia and Amma have been really hammering it into my head that control is extremely important, to the point where it's something that they made sure to say, at least once a day. I was at the point where I could confidently control 7 condensed fireballs simultaneously, making them move around me, each at varying speeds, while making them into different shapes and moving them in different directions. Hugin and Moonin also grew a little more, and their previous pure black feathers gained a silvery sheen, and the feathers at the edges of their wings grew very sharp. On Pram's side of things, she has moved on to helping her family in healing small injuries that people come to them to heal. But even then, she still makes time to come see me, and I do the same for her. Today was a day that she wouldn't come over, but that works in my favor since it was a special day. Just as the suns were rising above the horizon, one could see that it was just a single sun instead of the usual 2. I smiled as my vision faded to black.
Hehehe. Welcome back, my beloved Kino.
I reopened my eyes to see Amma's beautiful flaming orange eyes looking directly into mine. The smile on her face contained the warmth of the sun, and I couldn't help but feel my heart skip a beat. If it wasn't for this child body that still couldn't really feel anything, I'd probably jump her and start kissing her like she was water in a desert, and I was dehydrated.
Kino, I can see the disappointment in your eyes. What's wrong?
I'm annoyed by my body. My mind and soul know what I want, but my body is holding me back, and it's frustrating.
I see. Well, there isn't anything I can do about that. But like I've said before, this is just a short period in your life. And besides, this doesn't stop us from cuddling together. And I know how much you like that.
Yes, I do very much like that. But I think it's more I just really enjoy being close to you. Your warmth, smell, presence, fluff, all of you. It feels like I'm being driven insane, and I love that feeling. It makes me want to keep you all to myself, even going as far as keeping Fia away from you. But I know I shouldn't do that. I love Fia too much to keep her away. She's like the big sister I've never had in either of my lives. And Pram is cute and a good friend, so I'll make sure she is happy.
Careful, Keno. You'll make me jealous talking about other women like that.
Hey. The thing is, Amma, I only love you. I may love those two as something similar to family, but that is different than the love I feel for you. I am yours and yours alone, just as you are mine, and mine alone, and I won't compromise on that. Amma's smile grew wider, and she pulled me into a tight hug.
Honestly, what did I do to deserve such a perfect fated one? I feel the same as you, Kino. Though what you lack in the power to do, I have in spades. But like you, I won't keep you all to myself. I want you to have friends to rely on and people you can actually call family.
I barely heard Amma's words as I was too occupied reveling in her embrace. The feeling of closeness that I only got once a month with her was something that I enjoyed to the fullest, and I wasn't going to let simple words distract me from it. Several hours passed as we enjoyed simply being together, as we watched whatever scenery Amma had her home have today. This time, it was a quaint little hamlet with a small stream running through it, the sunlight filtering through the leaves of the trees in small beams, and a light mist hanging around. While sitting there, a thought popped into my head. Hey, Amma, do you have a soul weapon?
Naturally. Want to see it?
I nodded my head. She smiled, and I moved from my place on her lap. She stood up and walked a little away from me. When she was far enough, she extended her arm, and a spear I think was called a naginata appeared. Its long handle was a copper color and ended in a gilded blade that was veiled in a thin film of orange flames. The heat in the area increased the instant it appeared, and when Amma moved it, it was like, the best way I can describe it is that everywhere became filled with more life. I could also faintly see waves of magic coming off of it, like a heat haze.
Hehehe. I like that expression, Kino.
It's so pretty, and it fits you so well.
That's kind of the whole point of a soul weapon.
I get that, but still. I stood up from my spot, and I summoned my own soul weapon. I approached Amma, and when I got close enough, my cerulean sunblade started to audibly hum. Amma's naginata started to do the same. Is this a bad thing?
I don't think so. I think that the concept of life in my naginata and the concept of death in your swords are just reacting to one another. I mean, one can't exist without the other, so it makes sense that they would have some kind of reaction.
I never thought of it that way, but at least it's better than them repelling each other.
Why would they do that? Opposites attract, don't they?
True. How do you know that?
Kino, just because this is a world of magic doesn't mean we don't know magnetism. Alchemists, blacksmiths, and several other crafting professions know many things your previous world called science.
I felt my face go red with embarrassment. I started to stammer and try to think of an excuse for accidentally implying Amma wasn't smart in that way.
It's okay, Kino. I know you didn't mean any offense, and even if you did, I wouldn't hold it against you.
While I calmed myself down, the humming of our soul weapons stopped. I tilted my head in confusion.
Seems the resonance is over.
Did that actually do something special?
No. I think our soul weapons were just acknowledging each other.
Are they sentient?
Nope. But they are technically a part of our souls. So us being fated ones, as well as the contradicting concepts that make up part of them, cause some resonance. Think of it like when we first saw each other. We both immediately knew that we were meant to be together. Our soul weapons were just doing something similar.
I get what you are trying to say, but also not. So let's just drop the topic.
All right.
With that out of the way, an interesting idea popped into my head. Hey, Amma, want to spare with our soul W or Epons?
Sure, but what brought this on?
Just thought it would be interesting. As you know, I've wanted to do this with Fia as well, but she never agrees.
Well, her soul weapon does produce ever-burning flames. It's honestly better she doesn't use it as much as possible.
I get that, but she could at least show it to me.
Just give her time, Kino. Now, how about that sparring match?
Let's get to it. Amma and I walked away from each other until we were a good bit apart from one another.
I'll say this now, but I'm going to hold back to at least your level, Kino.
I know. It wouldn't really be a sparring match if you went all out. I wouldn't be able to do literally anything against you. We both chuckled at that, and then fell silent. We stood facing each other for about a minute when I made the first move. I launched into a sprint towards Amma before stomping down hard on the ground a little in front of her. Using my heel as a pivot, I let go of the hilts of my swords, and they extended until I caught the chains again. As the momentum from my sprint moved into the pivot, my blades flew through the air in a horizontal arc, 2 electric blue arcs of fire trailing behind them. When they almost reached the point where Amma was, she jumped back to dodge them before moving forward again, putting her naginata in the spot where my blades would go, causing them and the chains to wrap around the shaft of her naginata. She then pulled hard towards herself. Since my balance was practically non-existent combined with her higher strength, I was pulled off my feet, and I flew in her direction. Realizing this, she unsummoned her soul weapon and caught me in a hug when I reached her.
Sorry about that, Kino. I didn't realize you were that light. I get that you've been eating more than you usually have, but that doesn't mean anything. Remember, lifespans in this world are a lot longer than you are used to, so a mortal body matures slower. You won't hit a growth spurt for another few years at most. No need to get depressed about that. Now, what do you say to another round?
I reluctantly let Amma let me out of her embrace as I walked back to the spot I started at. All right, it's my goal to land at least one hit on you before the end of the day.
I like the enthusiasm, Kino, but just because of that doesn't mean I'm going to willingly let that happen.
Fine by me. It wouldn't feel satisfying if you did. Like that, we spent the rest of this solar convergence sparring with our soul weapons.
Chaos Realm.
Makes me wonder, do we also have soul weapons?
I've tried seeing for myself, but I've had no luck.
Then allow me to shed light on this. You don't. It's a thing that is unique to Kino's world. Just like yours has the abyss of fluff, Kino's has soul weapons.
Oh, not to mention that souls in your world are fundamentally different due to being from a different layer of the Sea of Chaos.
I see. It's a bit of a shame, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Like either of us sleep anyway.
True.
Chapter 25, Intentions, Kino POV.
We had stopped our sparring session about half an hour before the sun set. Unlike Amma, I was out of breath and barely holding myself on my feet. The moment I started to collapse, Amma basically teleported next to me and caught me. So tired.
Hey, just rest, Kino. I'll tell Fia to give you the day off, so feel free to fall asleep.
I think I'll do that. My eyes immediately felt heavy, and I was quickly falling asleep. I love you, Amma. I had fun today.
I love you as well, Kino. Until next you wake.
That was the last thing I heard before traveling to the land of dreams.
Fia POV.
When I got back to the bedroom after taking a bath, I found Kina was back. And she looked absolutely exhausted. Even then, she had an extremely happy smile on her face, which made me chuckle. Hey Rasu, what did the two of you do to tire her out this much?
For a lot of the day, the two of us sparred with our soul weapons.
I see. How'd she do?
Decent. She has some of the theory down and she puts it into action well, though she's still naive. She needs more experience in deadly situations, but those will come in time. I think keeping her on the training you have her on will be fine, though I'd also suggest adding some actual sparring to it. We also need to get her used to pressure and bloodlust so that she doesn't get stunned by it in the future.
All in good time, Rasu. I was planning on doing that when she was a little older. I mean, she should be a little used to it from her prior training, but not to the point where she'd be able to stand toe-to-toe with some of the powerhouses out there.
Or what she wants to do. The places she wants to go are dangerous.
What do you mean?
Well, she has some sort of idea on what she wants to do when she finally becomes independent. I only know about it because she sometimes talks about it through our connection in her sleep.
I get that. But what is it she wants to do?
She wants to dismantle the dead zones. With all the information we've given her about them, she thinks she may be able to absorb the divinity at their cause.
Does she really understand what that mean? I mean, fully understand the implications. If she does that, she'll be considered this world's most evil of beings.
I don't think she does. That's why I haven't brought it up with her yet. I don't know how to approach the subject.
How about you leave it to me? I'll think of a way to get her to understand, but only when she broaches the subject herself. I started to climb into the bed for the night, when Rasu had one more thing to say.
Oh, and I told Kino I'd get you to give her the next day off from training. She deserves it for how well she did.
Got it.
Kino POV.
When I woke up again, my entire body was sore. Amma! Everything hurts.
Good morning to you too, Kino.
You're too rough, Amma.
Heh. You're the one who asked for it, so I just obliged.
Can the two of you stop flirting and acting like you didn't just spar yesterday this early in the morning?
Boo!
Boo!
Ugh! The two of you being in sync like that is too much.
We can't help it, Fia. It's just how we are. It's better to get used to it since you're stuck with us for all eternity.
It's too early for this.
Well, you should get you some coffee. Fia begrudgingly got up and left the room. What's up with her?
You were a bit punchy in your sleep.
Guess I need to apologize.
She'll be fine. Anyway, what do you plan on doing today?
Well, when I can move and it doesn't cause pain, I might go and see Pram. Change it up a bit and whatnot. Mess with her brother, maybe.
Poor child. You know he likes you, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't really know how to get that to stop. Aside from showing no interest, I can't really force a child to just stop having a crush on me. At least not without ruining my image or my relationship with Pram or her family.
Then I guess just keep showing no interest until his interest passes on to someone else.
I agree, though I do feel a bit bad for him. I mean, his childish attempts are endearing. Ineffective, but endearing. At this point, Fia came back into the room.
Want some coffee, little Miss Snowfire Princess?
Might as well. I tried to sit up and managed it, but not without feeling like I was swimming through cement. Slowly, I climbed out of the bed, and after moving around a bit to get the soreness and stiffness out of my system, walked over to Fia. Sorry for being all punchy.
Don't worry about it. It's not like it hurt.
Then don't be such a grump.
So, you're going over to see Pram today?
That's the plan.
Then have fun.
I nodded to her words and went to get me my own coffee. On the way, Hugin and Moonin flew over to me cawing happily. As I drank my coffee, I looked out the window and watched the suns rise slowly. Today, my sun was the first to come up, followed shortly by Amma's.
Chaos Realm Astria Edition.
Evelyn,
Astria,
today we shall have a wondrous tea party, and you are the special guest.
who else is coming?
Me.
Is this one of those date things Mom is always talking about?
I don't know. I just want some fun, alone time with you.
Yay!
Heh.
Time passes as, with parental help, a tea party is set up.
Astria. Madame Evelyn, how are you enjoying your tea?
Very much, Madame Astria. It's quite the delicious brew.
Indeed. It goes well with the snacks.
Indeed.
Chapter 26, Going to See Pram, Kano POV.
After a little while of drinking coffee and watching the suns, I went to the bathroom to take a quick bath. Once that was done and I got dressed for the day, I was ready to go see Pram. Just as I was about to leave, Fia called out to me.
Kino, do your best to not lead Pram's brother on too much.
It's not like I ever try to. I deny him any and every time he tries to flirt or whatever you call what he does to try to get me to fall for him.
Rasu, no offense, but don't say anything. Your perspective is of no use here, since you have no experience in being a mortal.
I was just going to say smack him till he stops.
And that's not how it works. Sure, if Kino does that enough, he'll stop. But he'll also probably come to either fear, hate, or become something else. Anyway, that is not the answer. In my opinion, the way Kino is going about it is the correct way. Once he realizes that she holds no interest in him in any other way than friendship, if even that, he'll move on.
Mortal feelings are so difficult to maneuver.
But if that's the case, then what is love? Is it not also a mortal feeling?
Love is more than that. It's just the way gods and mortals go about it that's different. Gods are straightforward with it every time. It's mortals that make it all complicated and refuse to just state that they love someone from the start. In that respect, you have more of a god's perspective, Kino. Though our connection as fated ones helps with that.
This isn't the time to wax philosophical, you two. Kino, go on.
I'm going. Hugin, Moonin, you two coming with me or staying with Fia? They looked at one another and flew over to my shoulders.
Caw!
Again with doing that in my ears. Don't make me let Pram play with the two of you again.
Caw! Squawk!
I left home and started making my way over to Pram's. She didn't live too far away from us, but it was a big enough distance that we couldn't be called neighbors. Passing by a few people that were leaving their homes, I greeted them with my usual nods. After a bit, I finally made it to Pram's home. It was a big place, even bigger than mine and Fia's. There was the main house and what I always called the clinic, though it looked almost like a church than anything. As I approached, I saw that Pram and her mother were walking over to the clinic. I sped up my pace, and when I was close enough, Pram turned to me after hearing my approach.
Okami?
Hello, Pram. I decided to come see you today instead of the other way around.
Good morning, Okami.
Good morning to you as well, Miss Mill. Is Pram free or does she have training today?
She's free today. Ash is too.
Oh, great.
Heh.
So, he really has no chance, huh?
Unfortunately for him, none at all. My circumstances aside, Pram would have a better chance than Ash ever did. And even then, my circumstances and wants mean Pram has no chance either. However, that doesn't mean I don't want to be friends, just no romance between any of us.
I had a feeling that was the case, but I just needed confirmation. Now, run along, Pram. Okami came all this way to play with you, so you shouldn't keep her waiting.
Okay, Mama. Let's go, Okami.
Have a good day, Miss Mill.
The two of you as well.
Pram and I walked over to her backyard.
Okami,
What's wrong, Pram?
will you be going somewhere one day? Your talk with Mama made it sound like it.
I smiled and started to chuckle before moving closer to Pram and patting her on the head. Don't worry, Pram. Even if I did go somewhere, I'd be taking you with me. She looked at me with shining eyes.
Really?
Yep. I can't just leave my best friend behind now, can I?
Nope. You are never allowed to leave me behind. If you do, I'll hunt you down and pull on your tail.
Hey. I really don't want that, so I guess I'll just have to keep you. With all that settled, Pram and I started to play one of her many games where we had to chase Hugin and Munin. This lasted for almost 2 hours before the inevitable happened.
Pram, where are you?
Ugh.
Caw!
Pram's brother, Ash, turned the corner around their home and froze up when he saw me here. He was a tall boy, especially for his age, with the same silver-gray hair as Pram and the rest of their family. His tail was a little shorter and way less fluffy than Pram's. His face was well-featured, and his somewhat stern gray eyes would lead to many girls falling for him one day. To his credit, he was a good-looking guy, but that didn't mean anything to me.
Oh, Okami.
He flusteredly patted himself down in an attempt to make himself presentable or something before looking back at us.
It's a pleasure to see you, Okami. To what do I owe the pleasure of your presence today?
Stop imitating an adult, Ash. And I'm here because Pram is here. There is no rule saying I cannot come and see my best friend. Now leave. You are interrupting our game.
Yeah, brother, go away.
Come on, Pram. Let me join you.
Were you not coming here looking for Pram for a different reason? Speak it and leave.
Oh, yeah. Pram, Dad was asking if you were going to help out today, but I see that isn't the case.
Yeah, I'm busy with Okami, so go away.
Sigh. See you later, Okami.
He left, though I did notice how his ears, shoulders, and tail slumped. Several minutes later, Pram turned to me and pouted.
Dumb Ash. Okami is my friend, not yours.
So where were we before we were interrupted?
We were chasing lunch 1 and 2.
Caw! Caw.
They said that their names aren't Lunch 1 and 2.
I know, but calling them that makes chasing them so much more fun.
I can't deny that.
Caw!
The two of them started to fly from us faster, and we leapt after them.
Chaos Realm.
You know, they almost remind me of how you and Soleil were.
I can see that, though I don't think Pram sees Kino as a sister. It'd be cute if she did, but this is also cute.
True.
What's wrong, Order?
I'm getting a feeling. Are Astria and Evelyn still here?
Yeah, I just helped them set up a tea party. That'll keep them busy for a few days.
Chapter 27, 16 years old and resolve for the future journey. Kino POV.
Several more years have passed, and I'm now 16. The time practically flew by as I trained, had fun with Pram, and trained some more. Other than that, nothing else really happened. I did hit a growth spurt, and according to Amma and Fia, I now looked like a young princess. I was now almost the same height as Fia. I let my hair grow out to the point where I had to wear it in a high ponytail, and even then, it reached my thighs. The blue tips of my tail, ears, and hair had become a little deeper in blue, which stood out even more against the white-silver color. My irises actually started to faintly glow, and the sclera of my eyes became an even deeper black, increasing the intimidating impression I gave to people who didn't already know or have gotten used to me. To both mine and Amma's satisfaction, my chest has filled out, so, while still smaller than hers, I'm well on my way to rivaling her. Another change is that, while still controllable, my body heat increased more, so I'm back to constantly radiating a comfortable warmth. When I turned 15, I was allowed to sign up at the adventurer branch of the guild, and on some days when I wasn't training or having fun with Pram, I'd do some small quests inside the city. During this time, I also really thought about what I wanted to do once Fia went back to whatever it is she did before picking me up. I had a rough idea of what I wanted to do, but I needed more information, and I wanted to hear Amma and Fia's opinions. When I came to that decision, I made my way back home after finishing another miscellaneous quest for the guild. When I got there, I saw Pram standing by the door with her hand raised as she was just about to knock. These past few years, Pram had also grown a lot. She kept her long, silver-gray hair at a length that ended just above her knees. She had a naturally sleepy look on her face, though that disappeared when she was around people she liked. This came about when she started to try and imitate my public persona, so now when the two of us went around town, we became known as the Snowfire Princess and the Duchess of Ice. Her tail had grown a little longer, and even fluffier, though it still fell short to mine and Amma's. When I called out to her, she spun around and the sleepy look in her face completely disappeared.
Okami, it's good to see you. I was just about to knock and see if you wanted to do something today.
We can, but there is something I need to talk about. I want you to join in as well. She nodded her head and the two of us went inside. I told Pram to go sit in the lounge while I went to find Fia. It didn't take me long to do that, as she was in the kitchen cutting up some meat while Hugin and Munin watched her with rapt attention. Fia, we need to talk.
All right. I'll meet you in the lounge in a minute.
I nodded my head and left.
Kino, are you going to tell Pram everything?
Planning on it. I feel it's about time I let her call me by my first name. I don't like keeping things from her.
Honestly, it's about time you did this. She's been able to keep a secret for a while now, so I'm surprised you waited until now.
To be honest, I think I fell into a comfortable situation where I didn't want things to change, but now, I think it's time I start to break that stagnation a bit.
Makes sense.
When I made it to the lounge, I found Pram sitting in front of a now-lit fireplace.
I know the two of you are almost unnaturally warm, but you should at least light this, if not for its intended effect, at least for the atmosphere.
I have no rebuttal for that. Anyway, Fia will join us in a minute. So, in the meantime, how have you been? It's been a bit since we last were able to meet up.
I've been good. Just a lot of training. Several people are nearing the end of their life, so we've been easing their pain. Apparently, my soul weapon's sound provides comfort to their minds.
I see. Mind if I stop by at some point soon? There are some things I want to see.
That should be fine.
How's Ash been?
Still failing to seduce his new love interest, though at this point I think she is just messing with him, since she clearly likes him as well.
She's poking fun at his denseness, eh? That's funny.
It is entertaining to watch.
At this point in our conversation, Fia entered the room with Hugin and Munin riding on her shoulders. When they saw me, they flapped their wings and flew over to me before landing on my tail, which was sitting in my lap. I chuckled at them and started to scratch them on the neck where they liked it.
So, Okami, what is it you wanted to talk about?
First off, Fia, it's fine. I'm going to tell Pram today. After that, I'm going to need you and Amma's opinion.
I see.
Tell me what?
My entire story up to now. But first things first, Pram, feel free to call me Kino. It's my first name. Okami is my family name.
Kino, how fitting.
Pram started to smile.
Thank you for trusting me with telling me your full name, Kino.
I smiled back at her before continuing. Now, on to the rest of the story. Over the next hour or two, I recounted my story. Once I was finished, Pram had an expression with many mixed emotions.
There are many things I want to say, but I'm honestly mostly angry. How dare those people treat you like that?
Honestly, I'm surprised that's the first thing you mention. I expected you to be surprised about my relationship with Amaterasu.
I always felt you were special, so my first thought with that was, I see, so that's why she feels so special. Good to know.
Pfft, ha 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 ha. I won this bet, Rasu.
Cho.
Was that the goddess's voice just now?
Yes, how'd you do that, Amma?
It's my doing. I learned a way to get divine-level telepathy to be shared to a small amount of people from Randall. It takes a lot of concentration and mana to do, but it should be fine for this discussion.
How convenient. Anyway, with the first part done, now it's time for the real discussion. Effia, Amma, I think I know what I want to do when I come of age.
We're listening.
I think I want to dismantle the dead zones. It's just a feeling, but I think I can absorb the divinity there. If I do that, I think it'll slowly unseal my authorities and make your job easier, Amma.
Kino.
Amma's silence and Fia's expression were hard to describe.
Kino, we want you to know that while we do support you in what you want to do, you need to know the implications of your words. While nothing will really change in countries with no dead zone like Solheim, you will be considered one of the most evil of beings in countries with one. Those countries all came to rely on the dead zones to an unhealthy degree. They've become so reliant on them that if you take them away, they may even implode on themselves.
On my side of this, I still think you should go for it. Countries rise and fall all the time, so it's of no real sentiment to me.
I feel the same as Rasu. Though the way I see it, those countries have become too used to the benefits of the dead zones. But that's just because we're old enough to have seen, and in my case participated, in the fall of a few countries.
Don't get us wrong, Kino. Like we said, we will support you in whatever you choose to do, but we want to make sure you fully understand, and if you can handle being called an evil of humanity.
I closed my eyes and was silent for a while, as I mulled over all of this. I knew that my plan would most likely not end well for some places, but I didn't think it would be that bad. Thinking about it deeper, doubt started to bloom, but at the same rate some resolve did too. I think I can handle it. I mean, I will be the goddess of death, so doesn't that kind of already arbitrarily color me in an evil light? I mean, nobody likes death.
If I may, I'd like to add my input.
Feel free.
Well, even I know that there are only 8 dead zones around the world, so wouldn't that only mean 8 places would consider you evil? I know that most people here that know you like you, and wouldn't care even if you were actually a supreme evil. Isn't it just a matter of perspective?
That's naive, Pram. The world is much bigger than just this one city. The countries with dead zones are much bigger than Solheim, and have way more people living there. Of course, this doesn't mean every person will think that. But the people who only learn through hearsay, people who don't care, and just feel what the large majority feel, and especially the leaders of those countries will think that way. With just them, people that stay undecided or on Kino's side while in those countries will be rare.
Oh,
I have an idea. Fia, you were just going to go back to monitoring the dead zones, Falheim excluded, when Kino became independent, right? Why not start gathering allies for Kino for when she gets to those countries? Since Kino will likely want to travel there on foot and explore the world a bit, you can still help her out, even without actively being with her.
That sounds like a good idea. It will be a bit hard in some places, but not impossible.
How about you, Kino? Do you like that idea?
I do.
Then with our part said, you'll continue with this plan of action.
Yes.
All right. Since that's the case, we're going to need to double down on your training. I'm going to make sure you are fully prepared for this endeavor.
Kino... Yes, Pram? Can I come with you?
I've told you before, haven't I? If I go somewhere, I'm taking you with me no matter what. Of course, we'll have to let your parents know that you are coming with me, but that's a future us problem. And if they still deny it, then I simply have to kidnap you.
Okay, then I'll double down on my training too. You are probably going to need a good healer to keep you safe after all.
Hey, I'm not that reckless, am I?
You kind of are, not that I can say anything. Like me, you are the type to make the first move in a fight, to the detriment of your own safety sometimes.
It's strategically viable. If you strike first and take the opponent out before they realize it, then you don't have to worry about anything else.
Kino, that's the same kind of mentality where, if you need to do something stealthily, you just get rid of any potential witness first before completing the objective.
That's also a viable strategy. No one can notice if there is no one to notice.
Rasu, I blame you for this.
Hey, I didn't teach her any of this.
But you didn't do anything to fix it either.
Why, Fia then turned back to me, or more specifically, Hugin and Moonin.
You two, I expect you to keep Kino and Pram safe when they finally set out. Be their eyes in the sky and their silent assassins if need be.
The two of them ruffled their feathers in some sort of bird speak that Fia understood. She nodded her head satisfied before standing up again.
I'm going to go and start making a new training schedule for you, Kino. Go and do whatever it was you were going to do with Pram now, because you won't have much free time for the next 2 years.
All right, let's go, Pram.
Yes.
We stood up and left the lodge.
Chaos Realm.
This is so exciting. It's so much fun not really knowing what is going to happen.
Speak for yourself.
I am. You should try it one day.
I am. I have other friends among gods of chaos who I sometimes peek into their seas of chaos.
Oh, like that crimson person or the envious vampire.
Yep.
Oh, when will Kino's world's god of fate show up here?
Whenever he gets around to it. I think at the moment he's too busy avoiding Amaterasu and Kino to show up.
Doesn't Kino barely even know he exists?
Yeah, but Amaterasu does tell her to smack him every time he comes up. So that's likely to be the first thing that happens when Kino meets him. Anyway, I'm kind of excited to see what's about to happen.
Oh?
Chapter 28, Purification, Kino POV.
Approaching Pram's home, we noticed a gloomy feel around the clinic. Pram's expression darkened and she started to run toward the clinic. I followed quickly behind her, and we entered the building. We found Miss Mill and Ash standing beside the bed of an old human man.
What's going on?
It's nearly as time. Pram, ring your bell for a while.
Pram shut her mouth tightly and manifested her soul weapon. It was a bluish-green bell about the size of a softball. When she rang it, it made a delicate yet solemn tone. The old man laying in the bed became visibly more relaxed, and he started to breathe slower. He opened his eyes one more time and looked at the people that surrounded him. When his eyes met mine, they widened a little more before his expression turned serene. He stopped staring at me and closed his eyes for the final time. As he took his last breath, I saw his soul leave his body and float over to me before it started to orbit me. Amma, what's happening right now?
Go outside and get out of sight, then summon your soul weapon.
I did as she said and left the clinic. I walked around to the back of the building and summoned one of my swords. The faintly glowing gray orb seemed to become more energetic, and it flew to the edge of the sword. The second it touched the flames, the gray seemed to start burning away until the soul became a pure white and fading away. At the same time, I started to feel a bit fatigued. Amma, what just happened? And why do I feel so tired now? I slowly made my way over to a box that was placed by the clinic and sat down on top of it. I leaned back against the wall and unsummoned my soul weapon.
You just purified that soul, Kino. You shouldn't be able to do that yet.
Amma fell into a confused silence before speaking up again.
Kino, go home as soon as you can. We need to discuss this. It might change up our plans for your training in the future.
I nodded my head and sat there for a few more minutes before feeling better. I got up and made my way home. When I arrived and walked inside, I went to the closest comfy chair and basically fell into it. Hearing that, Fia came into the room from her study.
What happened?
Someone died, and their soul started to follow Kino. She summoned her soul weapon, and when the soul touched it, it was purified.
I'm glad we found this out now. I have to change up the training plans now.
What exactly does any of this mean?
In short, that soul you purified has gone back into the cycle. Your soul weapons burnt away and purified any corruption the soul had, and in record time. I guess even in its sealed state, The authority of death is working as it should. Now, tell us what happened after that. Kino, all I saw was that you almost fell over.
Well, when that soul disappeared after the gray was burnt away, it felt like my mana was used, and I felt like I had just finished running all day.
So, purifying souls consumes your mana and stamina. Rasu, can you tell the state of Kino's soul, or does that only work when you are in person?
It works better in person, but if I put my full concentration on our connection, then I think I can get a glimpse.
Then please do so.
Amma went silent again, and after a few minutes, I felt our connection start to grow hot. If I wasn't already sitting down, I would have fallen to my knees. My senses were being overwhelmed with the feeling of Amma being everywhere around me, and it was throwing my body into overdrive to try and replicate what she was doing. After what felt like hours, the feeling went away. Gasp! What was that? It felt like Amma was everywhere. We were so close to one another. He.
Rasu, I don't think you should do that again, unless absolutely necessary. I know I'm the one who asked you to do it, but seeing as it put Kino in this type of state means that she can't handle this yet either.
I agree. Even if it only lasted a minute, her soul was trying to match mine, but I did notice something else. While we knew her authorities were there, in a sealed state, and that they gave her 2 of her magic affinities, they are more closely connected than even I realized. Aside from her illusion magic, when she uses solar or death magic, she's basically using the smallest piece of her authorities she can while they are sealed.
I see. Then we need to focus on control even more.
Yeah, I don't know what you had planned, Fia, but scrap it all and put most of the focus on control. Keep the other things she needs to learn as much as possible, but control needs to be the priority.
All right.
By this point, I had mostly recovered from my daze and decided to ask what they were talking about.
To put it in simple terms, your solar and death magic are so closely connected to your authorities of the sun and death that they've basically mixed. So instead of using those affinities, you are using the part of your authorities that you can, granted, it's basically nothing at all, though it's more powerful than normal magic, but still, it's the authorities all the same. So, when you use magic or your soul weapons as catalysts or to purify souls, you are putting pressure on your soul. This, in turn, is refining it and making it stronger.
And since that is the case, your power will only continue to grow as you live and use your magic. This means that you will need to master control over your mana, magic, soul weapons, and authorities, if you want to be able to do anything combat or magic related, and not evaporate your mana and stamina faster than water in a desert in the middle of summer.
Not to mention that with what that soul did earlier, if we don't help teach you how to control all of this, you will be almost instantly incapacitated when you step even a toe into a dead zone. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, so the training Fia was going to give you is now off the table, and a new plan needs to be made. We'll handle coming up with it, so you just rest. Ark.
All right. Honestly, I'm kind of wiped out right now, so I think I'll just head to bed.
You do that. If Pram comes over again and asks what happened, I'll let her know.
Thanks. I slowly got up from my seat and made my way to bed.
Chaos. Realm.
Really?
No rest for the fluffy Kino. It's time to learn how to cook.
Sigh.
Now, you know that not many can match Luna's cooking.
Yeah. After trying it last time, I want to eat more. But can I not just sleep tonight?
Like I said, no rest for the fluffy. You will wake up feeling refreshed, but I need to make sure you know how to cook. Because seeing what you and Fiametta eat when you don't go out is honestly unbearable now.
And I enjoy seeing Luna in a teaching setting.
See, I have no problem learning to cook from you, but will I even remember it when I wake up? And even if I do, it will just devolve into the two of you flirting.
Now, to get to work.
Sigh.
Chapter 29, Fia's Final Test, Kino POV.
The day after the soul purification incident, I started on my training once again. It was intense, but considering what I wanted to do in the future, it was necessary. Most of my days for the next 2 years were filled with training of one sort or another, ranging from magic to swordsmanship to my authorities. I also discovered I was getting better at cooking, though I didn't know how. Anyway, when I wasn't training my combat skills, I was doing my best to increase the number of souls I could purify before becoming completely wiped out. It helped that I also purified souls of animals and some monsters that I hunted, though it didn't apply to insects, cementing the fact that they are soulless beings. During solar convergence, Amma and I spent equal amounts of time sparring and cuddling, though nothing farther than hugs or naps, much to my increasing frustration. Today was the first solar convergence since I turned 18, and it was a special one at that. Today, Fia was joining me and Amma and was going to spar with me with her soul weapon so she could see if I was ready enough to go out into the world. Amma made her home into a large open field complete with lots of dry tall grass that was perfect for burning. It was also just coming around to midday, so my magic would be its most potent. I was standing on one side facing Fia with my soul weapons at the ready.
Fia, don't hesitate. You know this in one of the only places that your flames can be snuffed out.
Fia nodded her head and held her hand out in front of her. Shortly after that, the shaft of a spear or staff appeared on a burst of golden flames. The butt extended until it reached the ground, and the other end went just a bit past Fia's head. Near the top, a circular ring appeared with a shining golden flame appearing in the center. Above that ring, the blade of a spear became visible, ending in a very sharp point. On either side of the spearhead were 2 spikes that looked kind of like a crossguard. While her soul weapon didn't give off the same amount of heat mine or Amma's did, the temperature around Fia still noticeable increased, and the grass around her started to smoke. She swept her soul weapon to the side and got into a stance. Ever-burning flames aside, you have a very pretty soul weapon, Fia.
Thanks. Now, let's see what all the training you've done up till now has done.
We both smirked and jumped toward each other. When I was in range of the full length of my chains, I threw one of my swords toward Fia, who dodged out of the way. The sword pierced the ground, catching the surrounding grass on fire, and I used that to pull myself in Fia's direction even faster. I combined the speed from that while also boosting myself by propelling forward, using some fire on the bottom of my feet. Seeing that, Fia used her spear as a pole vault, just as I passed by where she would have been. I maneuvered myself in a way to preserve my momentum and was about to swing both swords when I found that Fia was nowhere to be seen.
Kino, what did I teach you about being aware of your surroundings? Even above you.
I looked up and saw Fia floating there, with wings of golden flame sprouting from her back. She then waved her spear in front of her, and the golden flame in the ring shone brighter. Several flaming arrows formed in the trail left behind by the spear and aimed at me. I quickly started to move while simultaneously swinging my swords around the grass to get as much to start burning as possible. It was catching fast, but not fast enough for smoke to hide me before Fia started shooting the fire arrows at me. I managed to stay just barely ahead of the explosions the arrows caused when I decided to counterattack with my own fire arrows. Several cerulean arrows formed, and through the smoke that had started to get thick, shot toward Fia, who still hadn't left her spot in the sky. To Fia's credit, her movements were something to be admired.
Oi, are you trying to kill me? Why were those infused with death magic?
Heh 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 heh. Gotta keep you on your toes, and besides, it works as the perfect distraction.
Crap.
I had run to a tree nearby and used one of my sword's chains as a grapple to launch myself in the air using the smoke as cover with some added illusion magic. My other chain wrapped around the shaft of her soul weapon and pulled. We both approached each other, though I had the advantage due to being the cause of the movement. Just as I was about to strike, Fia unsummoned and resummoned her soul weapon and flipped around me, grabbing my hair and swinging me around a few times before throwing me to the ground hard. When I made impact, all the air was knocked out of me and my vision swam with dark spots. I recovered quickly, but not before Fia finished making her next move. Her spear was covered in golden flames, and she held it in a way that looked like she was going to throw it. Knowing that I wouldn't be able to dodge that, I started to focus on channeling my mana. When all I could see of Fia was a small shadow being overtaken by bright golden flames, she made a throwing motion, and the flaming spear flew toward me. I kept my calm and channeled all my focused mana into my sword's chains. I flung both of them forward as far as they would go, and the instant I did so, the chains started to burn blue. I sidestepped and swung in an attempt to get them to wrap around Fia's attack, and managed it. Barely. Pushing my will into the flames, I tried to take over Fia's attack and make it my own. The gold started to be eaten away and turn blue. But it was too slow, and the spear was just about to make contact with me when Amma stepped forward. She caught the flames with one hand. They vanished like they never existed. The same was the case with all the golden flames burning on the grass and trees. Fia landed and walked over to us.
Fia Meta, you were too rough. If I didn't heal her the same instant, you would have broken Kino's back when you threw her to the ground.
Sorry, I actually panicked a bit there since her attacks were all infused with death.
Kino.
I know. The fire arrows were on purpose, but the other times not so much. I'm still working on keeping the authorities separate once I mix them in the heat of battle.
That's worrying, Kino.
I agree. I guess I need to double down on that when training you in that area. Now, what's the verdict, Fia?
Other than that authority training, which is going to take more time, I pass you on everything else, Kino. I officially clear you to journey forth into the world.
A sense of accomplishment filled my chest. Yay! I'm free to roam about as I please. I was so excited that, in the heat of the moment, I jumped at Amma and pulled her into a tight hug. Over these past 2 years, I had grown some more, and now Amma and I were the same height. She hugged me back with one arm while using her other hand to pat my head.
Hehehe. Congratulations, Kino. You deserve it.
I let go of Amma and pulled Fia into a hug as well. She hugged me back, and while we were in this embrace, the full weight of this situation hit me. My hug for Fia tightened even more.
Kino!
It just hit me, but this also means we're going our separate ways. I don't know if I'm fully ready for that. Though I couldn't see her face, I knew Fia started to smile as her arms tightened around me. We stayed like that for several minutes before separating. She looked me right in the eyes with her usual warm, sisterly smile.
Kino, life is full of goodbyes, some permanent, some not, especially for immortal beings like us. But for us, this isn't the last time we meet. Sure, we're going our separate ways soon, but we'll see each other again. It'll only be a matter of time. You still have so much to see and do. Friends to meet, enemies to make, adventures to go on. Don't let this small thing stop you at the starting point. And hey, even if we don't see each other again on your journey, I'll still see you after you ascend officially. Yes, it'll be hard not seeing me all day, every day. But you have Hugin, Munin, and Pram to keep you company.
Don't forget me.
I chuckled at Amma's input and wiped a tear from my eye.
Now, I've taken up too much of your time on this solar convergence. I'm heading back to take care of some preparations. Feel free to release some of that pent-up frustration as you can.
My face flushed tomato red as Fia laughed and left through a shining door. I glanced over to Amma, who was similarly red. We stood there in silence for several minutes before we turned to face each other. The redness had completely vanished from Amma's face, though her ears continued to twitch nervously. This scene, compared to her usual confident attitude, made something in my head snap. Amma. I could feel my heart race and my breathing became uneven. I walked up to Amma and wrapped my arms around her neck. I pulled her closer to me until our foreheads rested against the others. I've wanted this for so long. I've gone over so many different scenarios in my head ranging from wholesome to borderline degenerate, but I can't recall any of them right now. All I can think about is wanting to do this right here. I didn't hesitate and brought my lips to Amma's. It was like a fire was lit inside me, and like time had stopped for everything but the two of us. All that mattered was me and Amma. I savored our first kiss. I tried my best to convey all my feelings of love, longing and gratitude for her in this one gesture. I don't know how long it was, but Amma soon broke out of her stupor and wrapped her arms around me. She started reciprocating the kiss. The fire inside me turned from a small blaze to a raging inferno until it reached a critical point, and I felt like my body was a true embodiment of the sun. Unbeknownst to the two of us, our feelings in this moment caused us to lose all control of our naturally produced heat, as well as, in Amma's case, her solar authority. And seeing as her sun was at the forefront of this solar convergence, the temperature in the mortal world began to rise at a rapid pace. On our side, our combined heat started to turn the area around us into a scorched wasteland, going so far as to even turn some places into glass. When we finally separated and took a look at our surroundings, we were shocked.
Ew.
If just one kiss was enough to do this, what's going to happen when we finally get to sleep together?
Armageddon.
Meh.
Earthed. Ahaha.
He 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 ha.
Ah. Kino, I love you and your reaction so much. I mean, your reaction to the two of us possible causing the end of the world due to suns is meh. You are just the best.
I try. Sure, I'd feel bad for some people, but aside from them, I just can't help it. Right now, all that matters to me is kissing you, because that one wasn't enough. I have 18 years of pent-up feelings to get through, and though I'd love to go all the way, I don't think we have the time for that, as much as it annoys me to say that.
Ha 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 ha. I know how you feel, so let's continue, because you aren't the only one that has so many pent-up feelings.
We brought our lips together again, and we kept kissing until I was forced out of the divine domain.
Chaos Realm.
I want to do that with Evelyn.
Astria, while I understand, please don't say things like that in front of your father.
But Mama, it's no fair. Luna and Tama do that all the time, and so do you and Papa. How come I can't?
Wait, how?
Not now, Luna. Let's just leave them alone for now.
Okay.
I want to do that with Evelyn.
Astria, calm down. Payto, help me out here.
Astria, you really want to kiss Evelyn like Amaterasu and Kino?
Yeah.
Sigh. Just make sure she consents to it, then just go for it. You are getting mature enough that neither I nor your mother can stop you. So as long as the two of you want it, then do what you want. Just remember that if it progresses farther than that, set up the barrier like we taught you.
You are taking this very well.
I knew it was coming sooner or later, so I just decided that when Astria finally grew old enough to actually feel these things, I'd support her decisions. Not like I'd stop her and her fated one from being intimate. That'd just be creepy.
Fair.
I'm gonna call Evelyn over.
Chapter 30. While the fox is away, the phoenix and leopard will talk. Pram POV.
Today had started out as a normal day. I was just going about helping my family in the clinic since Kino and Fia wouldn't be available. It was about 2 hours after noon, and I was sitting outside taking a break from the clinic when something started happening. I felt dripping. I was confused since it wasn't snow, but water. Though I knew what rain was due to Kino telling me about it, I'd never actually experienced it since all we ever got was snow here. Anyway, I looked around, and before long I felt another difference. It was warm, like when I'm around Kino warm, and it was getting warmer. All the snow around me was starting to melt fast, and I was getting uncomfortable in my usual several layers of clothes. At this point, Ash and his wife came out to see what was up, since I assumed everyone inside could also feel something was off.
Pram, what's going on out here? Why is it so hot?
Brother, why would I know?
Anyway, come over here. The snow in the tree is about to fall on you.
I looked up, and sure enough the snow above me was about to fall through the branches. I jumped out of the way just as it started falling. That would have been unpleasant. Thanks, brother.
No problem. Still, I wonder what's going on.
I nodded my head in agreement with his question. We then turned to go back inside when I heard footsteps coming toward us. I turned in the direction of the footsteps and saw Miss Fiammetta. I thought you were busy today.
I finished with my stuff, though Okami isn't. Anyway, Pram, are you free?
I can be. I looked over to Ash and he nodded and went inside again.
Pram, I need to talk to you, so come with me.
I nodded, and we went over to her and Kino's home. We sat in the lounge while Hugin and Moonin were sleeping on their perch. Before we get to what you want to talk about, do you know why it's getting progressively hotter today?
Rasu and Kino are having some fun. So Rasu's heightened mood is probably causing her sun authority to literally heat up. It'll go back to normal by tomorrow. No need to be so embarrassed, Prom.
I'm not embarrassed my best friend is climbing the stairs to adulthood or anything. Why would I be? It's not like... Ahem. Anyway, Miss Fiammetta, what is it that you wanted to talk to me about?
I'll be leaving soon, and Kino probably will shortly after. I'm letting you know now, so that you can get your own affairs in order so you can join her.
My mind went blank. Leave?
Yeah. Explore the world. Eradicate the dead zones. Probably smack around her birth givers a bit. Make more friends. And I know she said she was taking you with her. And that thought process was only made more into fact, with Rasu constantly telling her to do so.
I know, it's just leaving everything behind. It's hard to imagine. Miss Fiammetta got up from her seat and walked over to me. She placed her hand on my head and started patting me.
I get it, Pram. You'd be leaving everything you've ever known behind. It's a hard thing for people to do. And trust me, I've had to do it plenty of times. But you need to remember. And this is something your family will also tell you. This will always be your home. And it will still be here when you get back. I know you are one of the people that are able to overcome this small hurdle and live a more exciting life. And besides, with Kino around, you'll have a lot of excitement.
I remained silent for several minutes as Miss Fiammetta continued to pat my head. When she stopped and I looked up at her, she was smiling at me. All right, I'll go tell everyone that I plan on following Kino and get ready.
Good. But I think you should stay here at least until night. It's getting hotter than you are used to, even being around Kino. So you may want to stay inside for the time being. While we're at it, I'll give you some things that you'll need eventually, since both Kino and I have been preparing for this time to come for a while now.
The two of you even have things for me?
Like Kino has said before many times, she's going to take you with her, even if it means kidnapping you. Naturally, she'd have things like sets of clothes for non-Solheim weather, and some basic equipment prepared for you just in case.
I didn't know what to say. I wasn't really too surprised since I knew Kino well enough to know she was serious about taking me with her, but I was still a bit taken aback at just how prepared she was.
Pram, this is normal for a person like Kino. Even if it was for less time than she spent here. She was born in a place that forced her to always plan for things like this. It got ingrained in her mind unconsciously to prepare for escape at any moment.
Miss Fiammetta, how much longer are you staying here?
A few days to a week at most. If I'm going to make sure Kino will have allies in countries with dead zones, I need to leave as early as possible.
What about Kino?
That is up to her. I know she probably won't leave before me, but I don't expect her to stay longer than a month. She's been a bit overexcited to start seeing the world at large, and I don't think she'll be able to sit still much longer.
All right, then I also have time to get things in order. Heh. Now I'm kind of excited. I wonder what places that aren't constantly covered in snow are like.
There's the normal Pram. Now, enough of this serious talk. Want to make a bet?
What kind of bet?
How much snow is going to be melted by the end of the day?
I say all of it.
All the way, eh? Then I think that a good 3/4 of it will be gone. But the last bit will be stubborn. Hear that, Hugin, Munin? We'll be counting on the two of you to report the result of the bet.
Munin continued to sleep while Hugin let out an annoyed-sounding squawk.
Oh, I know for a fact, Kino didn't raise the two of you to talk like that. Take it back, or I'll feed you to Pram.
Squawk caw.
What have I told you about calling me a spicy chicken? I'll show you, chicken.
Miss Fiametta jumped up and ran over to Hugin, who flapped its wings, and it flew around to avoid Miss Fiametta. I silently watched the two of them run and fly around for a bit before Hugin was finally caught.
Caw, 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 caw.
Shush you.
Ha 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 ha.
Spicy chicken. Go preen yourself outside for a bit. See who's spicy then.
She approached a window and opened it before tossing Hugin outside. I felt the wave of heat come inside before Miss Fiametta shut the window again.
Phew. It's been a while since I've felt some serious summer-like heat. Since this is probably a worldwide event, I feel bad for those people that live that desert.
So, will this be a normal thing that happens every month now?
Probably not. It's only like this since it's their first time letting loose all the pent-up desires they have. After this will be way less noticeable. Hey. If I'm going to miss one thing about this, it's making you and Kino into tomatoes when I say something to embarrass you.
Why would that be the thing you miss?
Because it's the privilege of the big sister to embarrass her little sister and her little sister's closest friend.
That makes no sense.
Hey.
Chaos Realm.
Well, I knew it was happening, but will that massive heatwave cause any trouble to that world?
Not really. The sun spirits are actually handling it was better than I expected. I'd be more worried about Hugin.
It's getting what it deserves. It's rude calling a lady something she doesn't like.
I agree. Sure, I found it funny, but calling her that twice was too far.
Agreed.
Chapter 31, Amaterasu's Proposition, Kino POV.
The rest of my time spent with Amma was honestly a blur, since all that either of us cared about was the feeling of our lips on one another's. By the time I regained my awareness of myself, I was laying in my bed. Amma, how long have I been in a daze?
Less than 5 minutes. Stupid time limit keeping the two of us away from going any further.
I agree, but we just need to manage with the hand we are dealt. I got up from my bed and stretched. I walked over to the window and immediately felt the very pleasant heat. Amma, it's kinda hot down here. Amma went silent for a few minutes.
Kino, we might actually cause Armageddon when we sleep with each other. The sun spirits were able to avert any actual damage this might have done, but the heat both of our suns are putting out is nearly enough to damage the world. And all of this is just because we kissed for the first time.
I'm not worried. When that time comes, I'm sure you'll be able to keep your mind enough to prevent that from happening.
Hey. Now I have to do that since you have so much faith in me.
I chuckled at Amma's words and would have happily continued chatting with her, but I was interrupted by my stomach growling.
Someone's hungry.
That's upsetting. I don't want to lose the taste of your lips.
Kino, go and eat. My lips will always be there for you to taste again.
Says the one that doesn't need to eat.
Heh.
I quickly changed my clothes and left my room. I made it to the kitchen and whipped up a light snack before walking to the lounge. There I found Fia and Pram chatting about something. Pram?
Kino.
Welcome back. So, did the two of you have fun?
We did, though we didn't go all the way. All we did was kiss. At those words, Pram's face became tomato red, and Fia chuckled a little before full realization of what I said hit her.
Wait, it got that hot outside due to the two of you only kissing?
Yeah. We know Amma is going to work on it.
For the sake of the world, I hope so.
Fia was yelling so loud that both Pram and I had to cover our ears, and Moonin nearly fell from its perch. That was when I noticed it. Where's Hugin?
Crap.
Fia jumped up from her seat and ran over to one of the windows, practically threw it open, and looked around frantically. She then reached out and grabbed something and pulled it inside.
Come on, come on. Sigh. Still alive.
Did you just pull Hugin inside? Were you trying to cook it? I ran over to Fia's side and grabbed Hugin out of her arms. I then moved over to Pram and knelt down next to her. Pram, help! Pram held her hands over Hugin.
O light of healing and life, grant this poor soul your blessing as you restore what was lost.
A soft greenish-white light appeared on Pram's hands, and it covered Hugin. About a minute later, it started stirring.
Caw.
Hugin!
Careful, Kino, you don't want to crush it with a hug.
I loosened my hug on Hugin before turning and glaring at Fia. Fiametta, explain.
It started when we made a joke of a bet, and Miss Fiametta asked Hugin and Munin to help keep track of it. Munin kept sleeping, and Hugin decided to call Miss Fiametta and Spicy Chicken. She got mad at that, they chased each other, and when Hugin was caught, she threw it outside and promptly forgot about it, though I feel I share some of the blame since I forgot as well.
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to forget. I just lost track of time while we were talking.
That's a bad habit you have, Fia.
Caw.
Yes, Hugin. I'll make it up to you before I leave. How does some really fancy meat sound?
Caw. Caw. Squawk caw.
Fine. I'll have it done tomorrow.
When did you learn such shady merchant-like tactics?
Caw squawk.
I see.
So how come I'm the only one here that still doesn't understand them?
Dunno.
Don't worry, Pram. It'll happen eventually. Just give it more time.
And where did you go, Amma?
I was getting my son back to normal.
Ah, what do I need to do?
The sun spirits for your son have it managed.
Rasu.
I know, Fia. I'm going to work on it.
All right.
It was then that Pram let out a small yawn.
I think it's time for me to head home. Oh, but before I do, Kino, Miss Fiametta told me about the things you got for me for our journey. Thank you for that.
Think nothing of it.
Oh, speaking of journey. Rasu, shall I call this mission accomplished?
Huh? Oh. Ahem. My Apostle of the Sun, Fiametta Okami, I declare your mission complete. I also have a new one for you to begin at your leisure. 1.
I listen and obey. Oh, goddess mine.
Go to the countries with dead zones and find people willing to become my fated one's allies in her journey to dismantle the dead zones.
Your will be done, oh, goddess mine.
Ah, he. Pram Karlen, I, Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, life, and magic, offer you a trial. Succeed, and I shall appoint you as Apostle of Life.
Eh?
What is the trial?
Go journey with my fated one, Kino Okami, and dismantle the dead zones. I shall declare the trial complete after you dismantle all of them.
Amma, what is this about?
Rasu, are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure, Fia. And Kino, I've been thinking about this for a while now. While I know you wanted to ask Pram to become your apostle, she doesn't have any affinity that matches your authorities. However, her healing magic is attuned to my life authority. I just figured I'd get things going while we were being all serious about the upcoming journey.
I see. Well, Pram, are you going to decide now? Or think it over for a bit?
Rasu, this is a lot to put on a child's shoulders.
Calm down, Fia. This trial isn't as intense as yours was, and she doesn't have to do it alone, as I stated in the declaration.
Well, obviously, there aren't any fiends around for her trial to be as intense as mine. Rasu, you realize that she still has her family. What will the immortality do to her when she outlives all of them? Did you think of that?
Is that a problem?
For mortals, it is.
I see.
I accept the trial.
Fia was shocked at Pram's words and quickly turned to face her.
Pram.
Miss Fiametta, I understand your concern, but I still accept the trial. I mean, think about it. I'll become the apostle of life, and I'm the best and closest friend of the goddess of death. Wouldn't it be easy to either keep my family alive forever, either in their bodies or as souls?
Huh. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha.
Does it really work like that?
If either I or Kino says so.
Fia's face gradually turned red as she got embarrassed over just how worked up she was over this subject. I held my hand up, and Pram reciprocated, completing the ritual known as high five. She then yawned again.
I really should head home.
Meh, just stay the night. It's not like you haven't before.
Is that fine, Miss Fiametta?
Yeah.
Come on, Pram, get ready for bed and I'll help brush your tail.
Thanks. I'll brush yours as well, and you can tell me what it's like kissing.
Okie. We left the still embarrassed Fia to get ready for bed.
Chaos. Realm.
What's up with you?
I have a bad feeling. What's this world's god of fate named again?
Phobos.
Nope, that won't work either.
Wait, is your authority working on this world?
No, it's just my intuition. Phobos is going to make the same mistake I did early on with Luna and Tamamo.
What mistake?
Let me regale you with the tale of that time.
Chapter 32. Fia's Goodbye. Kino POV.
I woke up the next morning just as the sun started to rise above the horizon and cast their light on freshly fallen snow. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes as I looked out my window. Still sleepy.
Then go back to sleep.
Too boring food. I unhappily got up from my bed, threw on whatever I had laying around, and left my room. I slowly made my way to the kitchen and, after several minutes, had a fresh cup of coffee steaming in my hands. Hot coffee? Bliss.
And in 3, 2, 1.
Kino. Coffee, please.
Made. Fia sat down in front of me, hunched over another cup of coffee.
The two of you are so similar. I'm kind of jealous.
All mine. No need for jealousy.
Hey, hey, hey.
Fia and I both nursed our coffee as we usually did in the morning as we stared out the window. I finally truly woke up a few minutes after finishing my coffee. This may be a problem in the future. If I can't actually wake up completely, then I fear for mine and Pram's safety while traveling.
You'll be fine. You are only ever really like this when you have the comfort of your own home. You aren't like this when I've supervised you during camp out quests from the guild.
She's right, Kino. As much as it pains me to say it, when you camp out, you return to how you would sleep when you two were escaping Fallheim.
Guess things like that never truly go away. We were about to continue the conversation when a sleepy Pram entered the kitchen. She was still walking around in her pajamas, and she was nibbling on her tail. She slumped down in a chair while staring out into space, not really seeing anything.
Cold again? Find Kino for warmth. Fluffy tail.
I chuckled at Pram, and Fia did the same, though she also sounded a bit forlorn.
I really am going to miss this. It's been so long since I've actually felt at home somewhere.
Says the one who keeps saying this is a part of life, and that you're used to it.
Just because all of that is true doesn't mean I won't miss it.
By the way, Fia, where are you heading first?
I think I'm going to head to Vanir. It may not be the closest to Solheim, but it will be the easiest to get some allies for Kino. Especially since there is one family there that owes me.
Ah, those wolves, eh? Good idea. And when are you leaving?
Most likely today. I got all my preparations finished way faster than I thought I would. So it's best I get going.
I almost dropped my cup. Even if I was prepared for it, it still came as a shock to me that Fia was leaving so soon.
That reminds me, I have something for you, Kino. I'll go get it real quick.
Fia got up and left the kitchen.
Kino? What's wrong? And how did I end up in here?
You walked in here, Pram. You've been sitting there for several minutes. Also, Fia is leaving today.
I see. Should I give the two of you some time to yourselves?
You being here is fine. Pram nodded her head and I sunk into my thoughts. I was never good at things like this, even in my previous life. Before I could sink into some unhappy thoughts, Fia returned carrying a small box in her hand. She placed it on the table and slid it over to me. I stopped it and opened the lid. Inside was a silver ring similar to the one she always wore. Is this?
Yep. It's a storage ring. Did you think I'd let you go it alone without one?
A little. I kind of expected to go about getting one the normal way, though I'm not complaining. I took the ring out of the box and slid it on my right-hand index finger. I then channeled some mana into it, and it resized itself to fit perfectly. I put a little more mana into it, and a list popped up in my head. I wasn't expecting there to be anything inside, but when I saw there was, my eyes went wide. Fia, isn't this a bit much?
Not at all. Honestly, I hope you never have to use them, but they will be there just in case you need them.
What is it?
Phoenix feathers, 3 of them.
Pram's eyes also went wide. Aren't those something only rulers of big kingdoms have? Don't they have the power to revive the dead?
Yes and no. They can't revive the dead. They have enough healing power to put someone in a state just before death. And that only lasts a short time, so someone can help the injured person to someone with better healing. As for the rulers having them, I've only given them to 3, and that was so long ago that the feathers have lost their healing properties and are now only pretty decoration.
I couldn't hold it back anymore, and tears welled up in my eyes. I jumped up from my seat and pulled Fia into a tight hug. I heard her chuckle a bit and she hugged me cake.
Don't worry, Kino. Like I've said before, this isn't the last time we'll ever see each other. This is just a temporary parting.
I know, I'm just not good with partings like this. Fia, stay safe. If you somehow end up dead, I'm going to bring you back to life and smack you on the head.
Hey, don't kill me off so easily. I'll have you know that, as a phoenix, I'll just revive.
Fia and I kept hugging for a little longer before we let go. All right, since Fia is leaving today, I'm going to make a feast of a breakfast. Pram, get ready to help me, Fia. Go get Hugin and Moonin, and don't forget your promise to Hugin.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
What about me?
I'ma be the hottest moral support ever.
Easy. I'll be so hot you'll end up naked with only an apron.
I'll do that for you later.
Yes.
Like that, I started to make a big breakfast feast for Fia's parting party.
Chaos Realm.
Luna.
Yes, I'll do that for you later.
Good. In return, I'll wear one of those button-up long-sleeve shirts.
Yes! Don't judge us.
Don't judge us.
Why would we?
Why would we?
Ha 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 ha. Ha ha.
Chapter 33. Preparations before the start of the journey. Kino POV.
When I was done making breakfast, we had gone through almost half of our pantry. I had made so many dishes, though most of it was meat, ranging from this world's version of bacon, to sausages, to eggs, to omelets, to biscuits, and more. Ha 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 ha. I really outdid myself.
You really did. How am I going to be able to move after eating all of this?
Don't know, don't care. Now we eat. Pram and I started to pile our plates with meat.
Hey, I want some of that too.
We all enjoyed the food, accompanied by fun conversation. However, as all fun things do, the party came to an end all too soon. After cleaning everything up, Fia and I stood outside the front door.
Kino, these past years have been amazingly fun, and something I will never forget. I want you to take care. Keep Hugin and Moonin out of trouble, protect Pram and all those other things.
And you remember that this is always your home. I know we've talked about what to do with this place after we both leave, but still, if you ever need a break from traveling, come back here. I'll do the same when I'm able to freely use the gates.
All right.
Fia smiled and pulled me into a tight hug. I hugged her back. We stayed like that for several minutes before reluctantly parting. Fia brought her hand to my head and ruffled my hair.
See you around, little sis.
Same to you, big sis. With a bright smile, Fia turned around and walked away. I stared at her back as she went until I could no longer see her. I then turned around and walked back inside. Hugin and Moonin flew over and landed on my shoulders before rubbing their heads on my neck. Hey, thanks for trying to cheer me up, you two. I went to the lounge and slumped into a chair. Pram soon came into the room from behind me and sat across from me.
You good?
I will be, yeah.
All right.
We sat in silence for a minute when Amma spoke up.
So, Pram, how are you with survival skills, traveling, and combat?
I've learned at least how to camp out, though it's been a long time since I've done so. I know most medicinal and poisonous plants, and I'm a complete amateur at combat.
Then how about we get you a mace? No real skill needed to use it, just swing it and use the heavy end to hit an enemy.
I realize fighting is going to happen, but are you sure you want me to fight as well? I'm a healer after all.
There will be times when I won't be able to help you. Things change quickly in a fight, so I want you to at least be able to defend yourself. All right, I have a plan now.
Do enlighten us, Kino.
We spend some time here getting Pram used to both camping out and fighting. Then when we all agree she is able to fend for herself to a good extent, we head out.
Sounds like a plan. Just please bear with me in the beginning.
Take as much time as you need. We're not in any real hurry, though personally, I'd like to leave before the year is over.
I won't waste that much time.
Then it's settled. First things first, find Pram a weapon for all her bludgeoning needs.
Yep, then we get her signed up with the adventurer part of the guild and take a few quests that will keep us out for a few days. Pram, let's go tell your family and get started.
Yes.
We got up and left. After making our way to Pram's home, we entered the clinic. We found Pram's mom sitting at a desk in the back of one of the rooms putting several leaves into a mortar.
I'm back, Mom, and I've brought Okami.
Welcome back. And it's good to see you again, Okami.
Mom, we need to talk.
Oh? Is it about how you want to travel the world with Okami?
How did you know?
I'm Have Eyes, Pram. I've always known you'd want to follow Okami, even if she left Solheim. I won't stop you, and I actually encourage it. Though, and this is words for you as well, Okami, I want you to stay safe. Some places aren't as nice as Solheim. Don't follow bad men or women to shady places. And this is most important. Next time you come back here, bring someone I can dote on, be it a boy or girlfriend.
I burst into laughter and Pram's face turned tomato red.
Mom.
Ha 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 ha! You two have fun and go. Let me deal with your father and brother.
I'll take care of her, Miss Mill. We'll still be here for a while to get Pram used to camping out and traveling in general.
I'll hold you to that, Okami. Same to you, little birds. Keep those two safe.
Hugin and Moonin ruffled their feathers in agreement.
Good. Oh, do come and say goodbye when the two of you finally leave. I'll have some things to give to Pram.
We both nodded and left for the guild. Outside the clinic, Pram spoke up.
That went better than I expected it to.
Yeah. I expected Ash to burst into the room and start trying to convince you to stay before being dragged away by the ear by his wife.
She would have gone with the tail.
Oh yeah, that's how you get him to stop doing things. Did we bully him too much?
Nah, he played along more than you realize.
Funny. All I really remember was us pulling pranks on him when we weren't too busy playing with each other, or when he was trying to flirt with me in a childish way.
You realize we're both terrible at hiding things like pranks, right? He noticed them every single time, but let himself get caught.
He has earned my respect. We continued to chat about random things as we made our way to the guild.
Chaos Realm.
I have an annoying premonition.
Same, though mine is more along the lines of I've been in this situation before.
Well, all I will say is Phobos isn't going to make the best first impression on Kino.
Okay, I'm going to go seal him real quick. Then he won't be able to do anything.
Please don't. Your world still needs him unsealed for the moment.
Then let me know the instant he isn't required.
So the birth of a new isolation room is about to happen. How fun.
And this time, It'll most likely work as intended.
Chapter 34. Pram's Training and an Interruption. Kino POV.
The easiest part of Pram's pre-journey training was getting her guild card registered in the adventurer branch and getting her a mace. Turns out, there are several different kinds of bludgeoning tools available for several different purposes. They ranged from hammers to morning stars, to flails, to cudgels. There was even something that looked suspiciously like a steel baseball bat, and one that was just a big rock on a stick. Although I didn't need one, I bought the baseball bat-looking weapon, while Pram got an iron cudgel that was heavy enough for her to do some damage, but light enough that she wouldn't get tired from just carrying it around. After getting all of the prerequisite shopping and quest accepting done, we left the city and went to the forest nearby. Most of the quests we picked up were ones for gathering plants and exterminating small monster dens. I had been making good use of the storage ring Fia gifted me, so it looked like we were traveling extremely light. The usual gate guard waved both of us through after we explained we'd be back in a few days, and we were off. It took some time, but we finally made it to the forest. We traversed to the place I usually went when I came here, and I immediately started to set up a small base near my usual campfire spot.
So, this is where you usually go when you trained and hunted out here? It isn't as deep into the forest as I imagined it would be.
This is just one of the spots I frequent. Speaking of Hugin, Munin, you know what to do. The two steel feather ravens ruffled their feathers and took off from my shoulders. They both flew in opposite directions and disappeared into the trees. They'll be back in a bit to report on anything interesting or of note.
I see, so is this the part where I refresh my memory on setting up camp?
We can do that another time. I want you to take some practice swings with your cudgel. Get used to the weight, maybe smack a few things with it. I'm not really sure how you use something like this, so what could it hurt?
A lot of things, actually. While I didn't mention it earlier, since I think a weapon like this fits Pram, they can be somewhat unwieldy when not used to it.
Then I'll be careful, and if I hurt myself, I'll just heal myself.
Speaking of healing, Amma, isn't it about time you let Pram use chantless magic?
She already can. One of the perks of being a potential apostle of mine is chantless magic, and the ability to speak with me like this. Of course, if she fails the trial, refused it in the first place, or gives up, then she'll lose these perks.
I've been meaning to ask why I could still hear you, even though Miss Fiametta isn't here anymore.
I thought I explained this already. Anyway, Kino can teach you to process for chantless magic while you two are out here.
Amma, you are the literal goddess of magic.
Yes, but did you consider I want to see what you look like teaching? Let me have my fantasies, Kino. Hehehehe. I think I know what you just imagined.
Would you two please stop flirting? I'm right here.
No offense, but you are going to have to get used to it.
So, this is what Miss Fiametta was talking about. Sigh.
Pram just heaved an exasperated sigh and turned to start her training. Like that, almost a month of us going back and forth from the city and the forest to get Pram used to a life of travel and combat. At first, she wasn't very proficient with her cudgel, but after being put in several somewhat dangerous situations with bigger animals and one or two bears, she got a shaky handle on her weapon. Today was our rest day before we made our final preparations to leave Solheim. Pram went back to her home to say her farewells to her family, while I was sitting on my bed, waiting for the suns to rise, so I could finally get to see Amma again. The second the first ray of light breached the horizon, briefly lost consciousness. When I came to, I saw Amma standing in front of me, and to say her wardrobe, or lack thereof, made me nearly lose any reasoning I had.
Well, why are you still dressed? We only have a day, Kino. We need to make the most of it.
Those words blew the last bit of reasoning I had away. I practically ripped my clothes off and leapt at Amma, pushing her down on a conveniently placed bed as my lips met hers. Just as we were about to completely lose ourselves in passion, we heard someone appear behind us.
Amaterasu, I have come to make a request.
Before I even realized what I was doing, I was behind the stranger with my soul weapons manifested, one against his neck, the other poised to kill a certain other part. When I spoke, my voice was full of so much venom, you'd think I was the snake who kept Loki imprisoned. I could also tell the temperature in the area was steadily increasing. Who are you? And why are you here? Answer me now, and I'll make sure your death is only moderately painful. Once more, before I could even process what happened, the mystery man was gone, and I was falling forward. Amma caught me and glared at the intruder.
Phobos, you have a total of 2 seconds before I burn you to a crisp for interrupting me and Kino. What do you want?
I came to ask you for 2 favors. 1, to release your punishment on the family named Fafnir, and 2, give a message to your fated one that I'd like to speak with her. But seeing as she is present today, I shall ask her in person.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He actually spoke all of that within the time limit Amma gave him, and I perfectly understood what he said somehow. It was then that the reality of the situation finally sunk in, and I hurriedly looked around for something to cover myself with, only to find Amma was using her tails to cover us both. I then looked back at the intruder, Phobos. He was a tall man with orange hair, a well-maintained, short-cut beard, and glowing amber eyes. He was dressed in a very strange outfit that reminded me of Victorian-era noble attire, minus the funny neck ring thing. He also held a large book in one hand, with a working hourglass in the cover.
Miss Kino, up-and-coming goddess of the blue sun and death, I humbly request you change course from Valheim to Vanir in your quest to dismantle the dead zones. Naturally, I don't mean this as never go there, just not to go there first.
I was again taken aback at his brazenness, the audacity of asking me something after what he did. Before I even had the chance to chew him out for anything, Amma spoke to me in my mind.
Kino, I'm going to project some illusory clothes on you. Just get him talking.
I slightly nodded my head to Amma and glared at Phobos. And why exactly should I do as you ask? You certainly didn't make a good first impression, so I have no reason to trust or listen to you. Quite true, my new vulpine friend. Then allow me to expand upon the reasoning for this request. He started to make exaggerated gestures like he was explaining something to actors in a play. For you see, one of the greatest tragic stories of this world is taking place with you, little vixen, being a leading actor. I call this small tale in the tapestry of history the fall of the Valheim dragon. Dragon? Because the name Fafnir?
Forsooth, I was intrigued by the stories you told the gracious Amaterasu and her apostle, so I asked a certain someone more details on the stories you told. Alas, we stray from the topic. If you and Amaterasu's aspiring second apostle head there now, those you wish to reunite with will meet a terrible fate and will fail to rise to the lofty positions the world needs them to reach.
So, you're saying if I return to Valheim now, Sigurd and Emma will die?
That is correct, and not just them, but the whole of the rebels. Such an inspiring story, though tragic for the would-be heroes. A story where the villains triumph, but nobody likes a story with such an ending when the villains are so villainous and victorious. So I ask once more, change your course to Vanir, land of rain and wolves.
Phobos, before Kino agrees to this, you remember our own agreement, yes? Kino, Phobos has kindly agreed to let you punch and/or kick him in the face. I suggest you do so now to alleviate any frustration with him. Of course, I have new frustrations I'd like to dole out as well, but this is more important.
I smiled a very sweet smile and moved out of Amma's tails, now freshly adorned in illusory clothes. I ran as fast as I could up to Phobos before pivoting on one foot and bringing my heel with all of my momentum up and hitting him in the jaw. Sadly, this only caused his head to turn, but I didn't let it bother me as I doled out several more punches and kicks until I was out of breath. I moved back over to Amma and pulled her tails around me again.
Now that the previous agreement has been upheld, may I have your reply, fair Kino?
Fine. I'll agree to your request, but only because I want Sigurd and Emma to live.
Stupendous. And the dazzling Amaterasu?
Why should I?
Would you not like seeing fools make even bigger fools of themselves?
Fine, but it better be worth it.
Their ends shall be glorious and long-deserved. Phobos turned around to leave, but stopped and looked back over his shoulder. I thank you, family Okami. Your agreement here shall lead to the best outcome for all individuals involved in the world at large.
He then vanished, Well, that ruined the mood.
He is known as the mood killer.
I should have stabbed him.
It wouldn't have mattered. You can't really scratch him yet.
Shh. And what was with all that over-the-top everything?
He takes his playwright act too seriously. And despite what he said about tragedy and how it was great, he actually hates it.
So he's a dramatic hypocrite?
Sometimes. He mostly just cares about the betterment of the world as a whole. And since his authorities are what they are, he acts like that to mitigate the killjoy attitude he'd used to have.
Sounds so interesting! My voice was dripping with sarcasm. So, what do we do now that we don't feel like doing anything steamy?
I don't mind just sitting like this for a while. No talking, just being close. You need a break after all.
Heh heh heh. Guess I can't hide anything from you, huh?
Nope. I know you're still stressed that you're practically on your own, so just relax in my arms and tails.
I nodded my head and leaned further into Amma's embrace.
Chaos. Realm.
Sigh.
Payto, you know what comes next.
Yep. Just let me get Phobos here so he gets the same treatment. Snap.
Eh? God of Chaos? Why am I here?
You saw things that you shouldn't have, same with me. It's time to pay the piper.
I still fail to understand? What? I see. Sigh. My title of mood killer happened again, didn't it?
Yep. Now, face forward, stare at the silver tube orders holding, and don't blink. It's adjusted so that you remember the conversation and agreements, but not the actual event you witnessed. Order whenever you're ready.
Flash. Good.
Chapter 35, and so it begins. Kino POV.
When I woke up, I was in a very bad mood. Amma?
Yes, Kino.
What has that bastard been thinking?
Mostly about killing you and finding some way to curse me.
Is patricide allowed in this world?
While morally questionable, morals are all subjective in the end, and also, as the goddess of death, you decide what is and isn't worthy of eternal damnation.
Huh.
Oh, and what devious schemes are you cooking up, my feisty fated one?
Nothing complicated, though I wonder just what effect my soul weapon will have on pitch black souls. 'Cause I don't doubt for a second that Thing's soul isn't pitch black with corruption and malice.
Uh-huh.
The two of us started to chuckle darkly before snapping out of it. That's for future me to enjoy. For now, focus on going to Veneer. That's the place Fia went, right? Think we're going to meet up again so soon?
Not soon in the slightest, Kino. Veneer is several months, almost a year, away on foot. If you travel by carriage, you can easily knock about a month off, but from here to there is going to take a while.
And that's the closest dead zone?
No, there is another between Solheim and Veneer, but you are not ready to go there. It's located in a country called Odin.
Name aside, why am I not ready for that place yet?
The dead zone. There is guarded just as well, if not better, than Falheim's border. The only way into it is if you have express permission from Odin's ruler, are one of the people they call gravekeepers, or are dead. Otherwise, it's avoided, or if someone does approach it without the qualifications, they end up with the third one.
Guess it's best we avoid traveling through Odin then.
I never said that, just that you have to avoid its dead zone for now. Going through Odin is the fastest route to Veneer after all.
Ugh! It's like dangling a carrot in front of me on a piece of string.
Now, think of all the fun you'll have between now and then. I'm very excited to see what you and Pram get up to while you make your way to the dead zones.
I am too. And speaking of it, I guess I should get Pram. It's high time we finally set out.
Lookout World, Kino Okami, goddess of the blue sun and death, begins her path to ascension.
Onward to conquest, adventure, divinity.
Pfft, ahahaha.
After Amma and I finished our laughing fit, I exited my room for the last time for a long while and called out to Hugin and Moonin. Hugin! Moonin! Let's go get Pram, then we're off. I heard their acknowledging bird noises, and soon enough, they flew to and landed on my shoulders. When they got settled, I made my way through the lodge and out the door. I made sure it was locked and then started on my way to Pram's home. When I arrived, I found her hugging her mom and dad, while Ash was a little way away, bawling his eyes out. Ash, aren't you being a bit exaggerated?
Not in the slightest. Okami, make sure you protect my sister with everything you have, else I will never forgive you.
1. Don't yell at me like that. 2. That's only natural. With tears still streaming down his face like rivers, Ash gave me an exaggerated nod before his wife started to console him. I looked back over to Pram and her parents. They had just released their hug, and while a little misty eyes, they bade Pram farewell one more time. On Pram's side, she nodded and walked over to me.
Don't worry. I'll make the two of you proud. The name Carlin will be spread far and wide as healers of great renown.
You know we don't care about that. Just be safe, have fun, and give it everything you've got.
Pram smiled at her mother's words, and the two of us turned and set off for the city gates. On the way, I explained to Pram how our first destination changed from Falheim to Vanir, as well as how long it would possibly be before we made it there.
You two are so unlucky when it comes to being intimate, huh? I mean, the first solar convergence that you both have time to actually do anything, and it gets interrupted before anything can happen. I feel so bad for the both of you.
It is what it is. I mean, I am terribly frustrated, but that just means one more month of waiting. If I've made it 18 years, what's one more month?
I also plan on locking my place down next time as well. Then only a goddess of space could get in.
As we passed through the city, we came to the plaza where the guild was, and I stopped. Should we let the guild know we're leaving?
You don't really need to. Fia let that old angel know you two would be leaving soon.
Then off we go. The rest of the way to the gate was quiet. Passing by places that have long become familiar, I was filled with the familiar sadness only experience when parting from a person or place. A somewhat sad smile was on my face, breaking through the usual emotionless mask. That sad smile disappeared, however, when we reached the gate. Looking through it at the large expanse of land spreading out as far as the eye could see, lit a fire of excitement inside me. Pram? Let's have the greatest journey this world has ever seen.
Yeah, let's leave our marks so deep on this world. We'll be talked about thousands of years from now.
He he he. With those statements, the two of us took our first steps on our journey.
Chaos Realm.
Good for them.
Yep. By the way, how have things been on your side, Fia?
Good. I've just been having to re-educate some of the wolves in Vanir.
If only we could see what's on your side of things sometimes. Not that I'm complaining about what we do get to see. I honestly really enjoy not having a clue about what's going to happen.
Rasu, is she really a god of fate? She's so different from the one we know.
Honestly, I think I like her personality better. I'd rather deal with pranks than whatever Phobos does.
In his defense, he's trying to do his job in the way he thinks is best. Sure, he's extremely socially awkward and has a horrible habit of killing the mood, but he really isn't the worst. I've seen so many gods much worse than him.
I'll take your word for it.
Same. Though hearing the perspective of a different god of fate is actually quite nice.
If Luna and Tamama were here right now, they would say the two of you are crazy. But that's fine. A little craziness in life is so much better than none at all.
Chapter 36. Short-term goals. Kano POV.
It has been several days since we left the city. We decided that, while our objective is important, it isn't pressing, so we would leisurely make our way to Vanir. Due to this decision, we took our time enjoying the scenery. Most of what we've seen from the road are intermittent pine forests or open snowy plains. In the plains, snow was piled high like sand dunes in a desert, giving me a hard time with my instincts. Every time I eyed a snow dune, with even a hint of wanting to jump headfirst into it, Pram and Amma would laugh at me or encourage me to do it. On the times they succeeded in convincing me, I managed to pull Pram along into doing the same. Hugin and Moonin were also enjoying the open road. They spent more time flying around in the sky than on my shoulders. They were very vocal about their enjoyment as well, since, the times they weren't flying around, they were cawing and squawking at me, telling me just how free they felt.
All right, I've decided.
Oh?
By the time we make it to Vanir, I'm going to understand what Hugin and Moonin are saying like you, Fia, and Amaterasu do.
A good short-term goal, Pram.
I agree. What should I make for a short-term goal?
Car.
While it sounds fun, Hugin, it is physically impossible for me to learn to fly.
Car.
Heh. Cheer up. I scratched the spot on Hugin's neck it liked most, causing it to ruffle its feathers in enjoyment. I did the same to Moonin shortly after.
Well, you have done a lot to practice with your death authority, right?
Yeah, come to think of it, I should probably work on my death magic. Solar magic is fine since Amma helped me with it, but death is much harder to picture.
I agree. You are really good at infusing your solar magic with the death attribute, but we barely focused on the magic part, just the soul purification part.
Then my short-term goal is to increase my proficiency with my death magic.
Who do I pray to for our enemies? Because I feel really bad for them now.
Amma?
It should be Kino. You pray to me for things like successful birth, good harvest, pleasant summer, though that also falls under Kino, better success in magic knowledge. For Kino, it would be mostly the same things dealing with the sun, but also a peaceful death, safety from plague or famine, repentance for past deeds, and the like.
I'm so happy we're so close, Kino.
Heh.
Heh.
Also, what is death magic even like? I know it's a thing, but I don't really know anything about it. You've also never shown it to me.
It's simple yet hard to explain. Like your healing magic, but opposite is the simplest, most understandable way to say it, though in reality, it's more complicated. I looked around and walked off the road over to a nearby tree. I then used a simple death spell, and my arm became covered in a black mist. I touched the tree with that arm, and the tree visibly died, starting from the spot I touched.
Kino, what did that tree ever do to you? Prom.
Its sacrifice is worth it to teach you. What I just did was a simple death spell. It marks a spot I specify and kills something slowly from that one spot.
Wrong. Kino, you put too much mana into it. That spell normally corrodes the target slowly over time, most effectively over years.
Oh, guess it's good that I focus on this then. Don't look at me like that.
Weren't you training control all these years? I don't believe for a single second you didn't knowingly put too much mana into that.
Heh.
Don't laugh, Amma. You are the one that pointed it out.
Whistle.
Sigh. Yes, it was intentional. I wanted to show off a little, okay, though it wasn't a lie that was a simple spell.
If that is simple, then what is more powerful death magic like?
Not sure. But if my feeling is correct, then I'm surprised countries don't hunt down every death mage.
Well, they really can't. I mean, you don't want an angry death mage coming after you try killing or capturing them. And besides, any and all magic is just as dangerous if put in the right hands. Also, most death mages are actually somewhat useful for keeping criminals in check.
Makes sense. Souls aside, in case of a murder, you could just temporarily raise the victim and have them tell you what happened.
That does make sense.
Your silence is strange. Don't tell me people haven't thought about that before. Really? That's like one of the first things that comes to mind when I think of using death magic in a criminal case.
Kino, it's not really that simple. I only thought about that because you said something. I first thought that they would just threaten criminals to a painful death through death magic when caught, making them either too afraid to do crime or so good at it that they go into hiding.
Plus, people with death magic are few and far between. Kino aside, there are like 4 other people that have it, and 3 of those people are either on their deathbed or too young to even use magic right now.
Who is the one other one like me?
Someone in Odin. You'll meet her one day, I'm certain of it.
Why?
Because she has a vested interest in the dead zones.
I see. Future potential allies aside, what should I focus on exactly?
No clue.
How about a special attack with it? Make a small ball in the palm of your hand, condense as much death into it you can, and fire it off as a beam at your enemy, or just forego the beam and use the condensed ball itself.
Thinking over Amma's words, some small part deep inside me latched onto this idea, like it was almost an instinct.
Heh. I haven't seen you smile like that in a long time, Kino.
Smiling like that makes you look like a villain. Yet it's, and forgive me for saying this, Amaterasu, very attractive.
Careful, Pram. Death is a seductress that never leaves those attracted to her alive.
Then what does that mean for you?
I'm a goddess, meaning I cannot die or be killed. I'm the only one that can handle death herself.
Don't be so sure, Amma. I'll show you just how hard to handle I am when we see each other again.
Hey. I accept your challenge, Death. I'll show you just how lively life can be.
Hehehehe.
Hehehehe.
Hugin, Munin, I feel like I made a mistake in asking that question.
Caw! Squawk!
Chaos. Realm.
Payto, that last thing Kino felt before she and Amaterasu started to flirt. Is it what I think it is?
Oh?
Sounds interesting and
It's a very distant relation, and the Kitsune bloodline is most dominant. But yes, she did have one blood relative in the distant past. That was one.
Do I need to reinforce order in that world before she finishes that spell she's making?
Not yet, but I'll let you know if it will be needed in the future.
Are you just going to leave us in suspense? Or are you going to tell us what you two just figured out?
leans over and whispers in Luna's ear.
Ha 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 ha. Your expression is priceless, Luna.
Does this make her only half Kitsune then?
No, she's full Kitsune. She just has a trait or two from that race.
Come to think of it, Soleil is technically half human, isn't she? Why did I never question this before?
Pfft. Oof. Oh, Luna, you adorable fluff.
Chapter 37. A Small Teachable Moment. Kino POV.
A few more days passed, and Pram and I were sitting at our campsite as the suns were just starting to rise. We had gotten up a little earlier so we could eat and pack up. After doing all of that and starting once more down the road, Pram spoke up.
Kino, when do you think something exciting is going to happen?
I was wondering the same thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I necessarily want some kind of trouble to happen so we can step in and all that. But just endless road gets tiring very quickly.
Exactly. Plus, I kind of expected to run into something by now. Monster-wise, I mean. Isn't that what always happens in the stories?
Life isn't a storybook, Pram. You won't normally see monsters attacking a road like this one in broad daylight, unless they were starving, lured, or a few other reasons. Plus, countries usually have patrols that keep at least roads safe, though I am a bit surprised you haven't seen one of those yet.
We've actually passed between a few. Their patrol area is just a lot bigger than the immediate area around the road.
How do you know that?
Hugin and Munin. They've been telling me what they've seen up in the sky. I thought you knew that, Amma?
Actually, I've been tuning them out a bit. Sorry.
Caw.
Don't get like that, you two. It's just you both normally talk at the same time, so everything you say gets all jumbled together.
Amma, that's a pitiful excuse.
Yeah, just a bit.
Fine. I tune most things out so I can focus on hearing Kino's thoughts. Is that better?
Much. And I wish I could say the same, but our connection sadly doesn't work like that on my side.
Really?
That's weird. It should work that way. I'm dumb. I forgot that I need to allow that. So far, it's been like you've been chipping away at a steel wall. Now you can have access to my every thought about you, Kino, and...
I smiled at that, and immediately tried it before stopping just as quickly. My face and the surroundings starting to heat up.
Hehehe.
Pram was about to say something when the faint sounds of fighting sounded from a bit away from our position. The two of us looked at one another before running in the direction of the sounds. Several minutes later, we crested a hill and saw a group of 3 people. 2 were standing back to back, while surrounded by a few weasel-like monsters called Wes. They had snow-white fur and were about as big as wolves. The third person was standing a bit away from the other 2, watching the battle with their arms crossed.
Do we join in or walk up to the spectator?
I say the spectator. While it would be fun to jump in and help the other 2, we might end up causing more problems than actually helping.
Touch. One of them just has to be an angel. As per usual, I'll be quiet now.
I looked back at the three people and noticed that one of the pair was indeed an angel. I let out a sigh, and Pram and I made our way over to them. The third person spectating the other two must have noticed our arrival, because they glanced over at us before turning their attention back to the standoff.
Need any help?
Nah, these two should be strong enough to handle a few Wes. At least they better be, otherwise I've wasted all the time I've spent teaching them.
Are you three guild members?
Yeah, name's Hilda. I'm a trainer for the adventurer branch, helping these two get up to snuff. You two?
I'm Okami, that's Pram. These two are Hugin and Munin. We're also part of the adventurer branch, though right now we're traveling and not on a quest. Hilda nodded as she watched one of the two trainees fend off a Wes's attack with a buckler.
Nice to meet you. It's hard to believe someone so princessy is an adventurer. No offense.
None taken. The second trainee blocked another Wes before kicking it away and slashing at it with his sword, cutting a large gash into the monster's side.
Ruined the pelt.
Shame too, it looks like a real quality one.
I agree. Out of all of them, that one's pelt would have been worth the most, while the other ones are basically loose change. Though on the bright side, the meat will still be good.
Seems like the two of you know what you're talking about. Seems like a few more are coming. Mind showing those two how it should really be done?
Shall we, Pram? It's almost lunchtime and I could go for some Wes meat.
Let's.
Oh, you two! Stop playing around and get over here.
Hilda's yelling must have spooked the Wes her trainees were dealing with since they both froze up and were promptly taken care of. Pram and I then rushed over to that spot just as two more Wes leapt out of the snow. What? We ignored the two, and I summoned my soul weapon, and Pram readied her cudgel. We stared down the Wes that jumped out of the snow, and soon enough, one of them dove back in an attempt to get behind us. Dumb things. They aren't as quiet as they think they are. The Wes that burrowed into the snow jumped out behind my, and just as its claws were about to scratch me, I moved to the side and, in a quick, fluid movement, trapped it in the chains of my soul weapon. On Pram's side, her Wes ran at her, but got tripped up when she dodged it, and caught one of its legs on the end of her cudgel. Before it could regain its bearings, Pram slammed the cudgel on its head, and the loud cracking sound of bone could be heard.
Ah, still not enough. I'm sorry, little Wes. I'll put you out of your misery soon.
Pram smacked its head a few more times before it finally went completely still, though I didn't fail to notice the slight smile on her face. Turning my attention back to my own Wes that was struggling to free itself, I whipped my chain and made it wrap around the Wes's neck a few more times before I pulled it taut and snapped its neck. The two of us then looked over at the two trainees and saw that they had stupefied expressions while Hilda walked over with an amused smile.
And that, my little fledglings, is how you properly deal with Wes, while also keeping the pelts intact. Though, Miss Okami, you could have also aimed one of those fancy swords at its eye while it was trapped. On your side, Miss Pram, your first strike was off a bit, and you left yourself a bit too open.
I see. Guess I need to work on that some more.
I feel like going for the eye would have been a bit overkill, but I'll take it. Miss Hilda, who are these two?
Some passing by adventurers. They were attracted to the sounds of fighting and wanted to see if you needed help. I told them this was part of your training, so they held back, and then we heard more Wes coming. So I asked if they would take care of them so you two could learn more. By the way, anything you two want in return for that?
I think just the Wes we killed is fine, though if you could answer a question for me, I'd also think that would be good enough.
Ask away, then.
Do you know how far the next city or town is, and the Solheim border in relation to that?
The closest town is about a day from here east along the road. As for the border, it's about a month more from the closest town on foot.
Thanks.
It's no problem. Now you two, let's go find some more prey. Be seeing you round, Miss Okami, Miss Pram.
Hildur then left with her 2 trainees in the direction we came from. We stood in silence for a while before Amma spoke up again.
What was even the point of all that?
Reliving boredom.
Getting tasty meat.
Pram and I looked at one another, and then all 3 of us burst into laughter. We then set up a small camp to take care of the Wes and have lunch.
Chaos. Realm.
Ooh, Wes meat. It's actually quite good when grilled over an open flame like that. For some reason, it gives it an almost fruity flavor.
Now, I want to try some.
All you need to do is ask and I'll prepare some.
Then would you mind?
Snap. I'll get started cooking it then. Any other special requests?
How about some of that nice wine? You know, the one made with those grapes.
The ones that grow in the cores of suns?
Yeah, those.
Got it.
Chapter 38, Reaching the City. Kino POV.
After cooking and eating a very good lunch, Pram and I packed up once more and made it as far as we could before the day came to an end. We decided to camp out on the top of a hill where we could see the city Hildur spoke about in the far distance.
Kino.
What's up?
I think we need to skip setting up and get to the city. I'm getting a bad feeling about tonight.
Oh? What kind of bad feeling?
Not sure. It's nothing related to monsters since we'd both be able to tell something about that.
All right. We quickly packed up the few things we had set up and started making our way toward the city again at a faster pace. Think Hildur will be fine?
Who knows? It's too late to go back and find them. We just have to hope they are.
About an hour after we started to head to the city again, the clouds above us started to get darker and the wind picked up even more. A blizzard.
A big one, too.
If we get stuck out here when it starts, stick close to me, Pram. Amma, if it gets too bad, you need to lead us toward the city.
Heard loud and clear.
We started to pick up the pace even more when snow started to fall. That was when we started running. The city was still far, but we were making good ground when I heard a crash near us. I looked around and saw a big chunk of ice that wasn't there before. Damn it, there's hail this time.
That's fine, you just need to melt any before it hits you.
Might as well, but before that, Hugin, Munin, get down here. The 2 ravens that were trying to keep flying while dodging hail and fighting the wind flew to me and nestled into my tail. I glanced over to Pram and saw she was struggling to keep up. Pram!
I'm fine.
I slid to a stop and grabbed Pram closer to me just as a piece of hail the same size as me slammed into the ground. No, you almost weren't. I looked toward the city and saw that it was pretty much downhill from us, and then at the chunk of sky ice next to us. I summoned my soul weapons and started carving the ice as fast as I could until a relatively thick, flat piece fell off. Pram, climb on my back. She looked reluctant but still did so after I insisted. Once she was good, I stepped on the piece of ice and melted some footholds for myself. I then leaned forward and we started to slide downhill. It was a bit hard to keep my balance since I was carrying Pram, but I managed to not fall over. It seemed like the storm was picking up speed at the same rate we were since more and more hail started to fall, and the snow started to blow around more, decreasing my vision. I tried my best to dodge the hail, which, so far, was going great.
Kino.
No talking, I don't want you to bite your tongue if we hit something. I leaned forward as much as I could without risking our balance, and sped up more. This allowed me to get just barely ahead of the soon-to-be raging storm. Small pieces of hail still buffeted us, but none so big it would crush us. After several minutes of this impromptu snowboarding, we hit flat ground, and the ice at my feet cracked. Thankfully, we were close enough to the city that we would be able to make it if we ran full force. Pram, this ice isn't going to last much longer when it breaks. Hop off my back and start running as fast as you can. I felt her nod, and shortly after that, the ice beneath my feet broke. Keeping up with the momentum, I started running. Pram let go of my back and hopped off of me. I heard her stumble a little, but she managed to avoid falling, and soon enough she was running right next to me. After about a minute of full-on sprinting from the both of us, I started to hear someone calling out. It was hard to make out what exactly they were saying due to the wind, but I managed to put together that they wanted us to hurry. The snow that had caught up to us started to swirl around, and my vision narrowed to the point where all I could really see was Pram and the gate. 2 more minutes passed, and we finally made it through the gate before sliding to a stop. Just as soon as Pram's tail was fully inside, the gate slammed shut with a loud clanging noise that pierced through the howling of the wind. Whistle! Cutting it real close, travelers. The person who spoke walked out of the gatehouse next to the gate. He was wearing light armor that looked like it was made more for warmth than protection. He looked to be about middle-aged and had a cleanly trimmed beard. Though it was hard to really tell with the current lighting, his eyes were a dull gray color. Well, we didn't expect a blizzard. We were going to camp out one more night. Fair enough. If you aren't from around this part of Solheim, then you wouldn't really know how rapid the weather changes here. Anyway, if I was the two of you, I'd hurry and get to an inn before it actually gets bad.
Before that, what's your name?
Name's Tyr. Now, get going.
We both nodded and left the gate area. As we went further into the city, we saw people scrambling around to close up shops, pick up signs, close window shutters. We managed to ask some people about an inn and quickly made our way to the one we were hastily recommended. At this point, the snow and small hail was coming down heavily. Once we found the inn, we basically kicked the door in before slamming it shut behind us. This elicited brief glares from a few people, but other than that, no one really said anything. We walked up to the reception desk and rented a room to wait out the storm.
Chaos Realm.
That looked so fun. Tamemo, is there any place back home where we can try to outrun storms like that?
I can think of a few places. Let's go try one of them next time we go on a date.
Yay!
It really does sound like fun. What do you think, Order?
I wouldn't really care for running, but I think it'd be nice to be carried by you while you did so.
I can arrange that.
Look at those two flirting away, Tamemo.
Indeed. Though I wonder, where is Astria?
She's been over at Evelyn's. Apparently the two of them are having fun poking around Crisis's domain and all the random things that pop up there. Honestly, it makes it seem that place is more chaotic than here.
Order. Well, it probably is. I mean, I am here after all.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Heh. Oh, you.
Chapter 39, Waiting Out the Storm, Kino POV.
After checking out the room we rented, Pram and I went back to the lobby. A few people looked over to us before quickly looking away. I didn't fail to notice that most of the people looking away did so while trembling a bit.
Kino.
It's fine, Amma. I just need to get used to it again. We sat down at an empty table, and someone walked over and asked if there was anything they could do for us. Again, the lady tried her best to talk mostly to Pram while looking away quickly anytime she looked at me. Pram ordered some food, and the lady basically ran away. The two of us sat in silence for several minutes.
Okami, are you all right?
Yeah, I just forgot how lonely it is for people to be scared just by seeing me.
I mean, I sort of remember feeling a bit scared since your demeanor, and eyes make you really intimidating. But when I really got to know you, I knew you weren't a bad person. Though I also think I'm a bit biased since we've been friends so long.
I smiled a little at Pram's words. Shortly after that, our food was placed in front of us, and we started to eat. While we did so, we listened to the sound of hail and the hushed chatter of other patrons. Once we were both done, we went back to our room. Pram sat on her bed while I stood next to mine. I undid my hair and let it fall to its full length.
I've been wondering for a while now, Kino. Why do you keep your hair long like that? Doesn't it get in the way?
Like you're one to talk, Pram. But to answer you, not really. It's all a matter of getting used to it.
Plus, I just really like Kino's long hair. It's so silky and smooth, and I can never get enough of running my hands through it.
I see. It must be nice having such a loving lover. I'm quite jealous.
Sorry, Pram. I know you held feelings for Kino before, but I will never let her be with anyone other than me.
So that was the case after all. I had a feeling you felt that way about me once. But around the time Ash moved on, I felt our friendship became just that.
I was a little kid back then, okay? It doesn't help that you are so pretty, nice, warm, caring, beautiful. Anyway, I feel like I'll find my perfect person on our journey as well. It's just a matter of when.
Love lives aside. I wonder how long this storm is going to last, and how we're going to reliably travel if something like this is a normal occurrence around here.
I've taught you how to make solar barriers, Kino. Just set one up and you'll be protected from hail and snow. Wind is another matter, but it shouldn't be too bad, I think.
Yeah, that is an option. I sat down and placed my hand on my chin while I tried thinking of more ways to protect ourselves from the elements. While I did so, Pram laid down on her bed and started to hug her tail. That was when I remembered Hugin and Moonin were in mine. I moved my tail in front of me and stuck my hands in. I felt around for a few seconds only to find out the two of them were fast asleep in my fluff. Heh, guess we should get some sleep. I'm kinda tired from all the running.
Yeah, plus that was a good meal we had. Nice and warm.
Speaking of warm, want me to light the fireplace? Pram was already half asleep, it seemed, so I got up from my bed and walked over to the fireplace that was in the room. I tossed a few pieces of firewood inside and used my magic to light it. The room lit up with a blue glow as the cerulean flames filled the fireplace.
I know I've said it many times, but your fire is so much more comforting than mine.
Hey, I kind of find that funny, Alma. I mean, you are also the goddess of life, so shouldn't your flames be the kind that radiate stuff like that? Meanwhile, mine should give off a feeling of coldness and despair.
Kino, not like that. Nice and caring and fluffy.
What Pram said, I honestly feel you are nicer than I am, though I may just be jaded considering how much I've seen mortals squander the life I give them.
Well, what can I say? Life can also be cruel, whereas death is accepting to all, no matter what.
Feeling philosophical tonight, are we?
Not really, just tired.
Hey. Then get some rest, my beloved. You worked hard today, so you deserve it.
I smiled and laid back down on my bed. I pulled my tail over my stomach so I didn't disturb Hugin and Moonin and closed my eyes. I slowly drifted off to sleep to the sound of Pram's quiet snores, hail hitting the roof, and the crackle of the fire.
Amaterasu POV.
Once I was sure Kino was asleep, I turned my gaze over to Fia. She was sitting on the terrace of a mansion, looking out over a city while rain fell from the sky. Fia, how are you doing?
Good. I'm about ready to move on from Vanir. I'm tired of all the rain and the annoying little games these people play to try and one-up each other.
Understandable. Know where you're going next?
Depends. Know where Kino's going after here?
Probably Falheim. She doesn't like how she has to let her birth-givers live and gather power. If it wasn't for Phobos, she'd be on her way there now.
Maybe I'll go to Valkyria.
Sounds good to me. Any idea on how long it'll take for you to get Kino allies there?
Depends. I remember them being a bit stubborn, so the people I try and convince will probably want to test Kino themselves.
Not surprising.
Lightning flashed in the sky, and thunder followed shortly after. How is Kino?
She's fine. They had to outrun a blizzard today, but they made it to their first new Solheim city.
That's, I don't know, very Kino of them.
Poofed. I'll tell her you said that.
Please don't. I don't want the first thing Kino says to me when we meet again is how she thinks that's rude of me to say or something.
You know she'll forget it by that time. Anyway, I had a question for you aside from just checking on you. The way Kino and Pram are going, they'll pass by that place. Should I let Kino know about the well?
Oh, why not? It won't hurt them.
I know that, but I get a feeling like Kino will be more affected by it than someone normally would be.
Well, it's not like the well can take a price from her. It can from Pram, but whatever it wants from her will be easily doable by the two of them.
That's not what I meant, Fia. I don't know how to describe this feeling, but still.
If you're this reluctant, then why even consider it?
Because I know it will be helpful in the long run.
Sigh. Then all I can say is talk to them about it. If they decide they don't want to deal with it, then they won't, and your worry will be absolved. If they decide to go to it, then Kino will say something that will ultimately reassure you.
You're right, I'll talk to them about it when they wake up. Fia then stood up from her seat and stretched.
Speaking of sleep, I should get some too.
Have a good night, Fia.
Same to you, Rasu.
Chaos. Realm.
Payto, are you ready to go?
I am. Luna, we'll be away for a few days. Feel free to let yourself in and watch. If Astria comes back while we aren't here, just let her know where we went.
Got it. And I promise nothing will happen to those mongrels while you two are away. And if something unfluffy does happen, it's 1,000% not my doing.
I hear you loud and clear.
Payto and order leave.
To Mamo, the unfluffifying can wait. What do you say to a small raid on their coffee selection?
I like the idea, though we should tell them when they get back.
That was the plan all along. I just want to see if there is any different variety here than what Java has to offer.
Oof. Maybe we could even let Java know so he can start growing some.
And this is why I always call you a genius.
Chapter 40. Amaterasu's Anxiety. Kino POV.
Waking up the next morning, I saw Pram sitting by the fireplace, poking around to get the fire to grow again. Hugin and Moonin were sitting on the arm of a chair near her, looking at what she was doing like two curious cats. Mornin' Pram, Hugin, Moonin, Amma, where are you?
Morning, Kino.
I'm here.
Amma, what's wrong? Amma, did something happen?
No, I just don't know how to ask about something.
Is there something we know that you don't?
No, it's not like that. Sigh. Fine. Have either of you heard about the Well of Knowledge?
Pram tilted her head in confusion while the name rang a bell in my memories.
Well of Knowledge, well located at the roots of the world tree Yggdrasil. Its keeper, the sentient decapitated head Mimir, pretty much all-knowing, takes a price from those who seek its waters. Part of why the ruler of the Norse pantheon, Odin, lost an eye. That kind of well of knowledge?
Sort of. The takes a price part is right, but it's not all-knowing, at least I think. Also, no one named Odin here with one eye, and no decapitated keeper named Mimir. Anyway, it's a well located in the mountains on the border of Solheim and Odin. The path the two of you are taking is going to pass near it, and I wanted to know if you were going to go to it.
I mean, now that I know about it, I want to. Your opinion, Pram?
It does sound interesting.
So, this is one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. I thought the two of you knew about it and were heading this way on purpose.
Nope. This is just the shortest route to Vanir according to you and Fia. Did you not want us to go to it? If so, why even suggest this route in the first place?
No, it's just that I remembered the well was this way last night, and then I got a bad feeling about it when I thought of you going to it, Kino. It's hard to explain perfectly, but I feel like if you go to the well and learn from it, it might hurt you in some way.
If that's the case, then we won't go to it. Curiosity killed the cat and all that, you know? I won't go do something if it makes you this worried.
That's the thing, though. I also get the feeling that it will be more beneficial for you to go and learn something from the well. Plus, I can tell you really want to go see it. Your tail is going crazy.
I looked down and saw that my tail was indeed going crazy. I covered my face with my hands as I felt the room around me heat up. Ooh.
Embarrassed Kino is cute.
Ka!
I didn't grace the three of them with a response and just threw a pillow at them. Hugin and Moonin dodged it, while Pram caught it before it flew into the fireplace.
Careful, Kino. We don't want to have to pay the inn more than we already have.
Hehe.
So, Amma, what do you want us to do?
I don't know. I don't want you to forego an opportunity to seek something that benefits you, but I also don't want to see you hurt in any way. Call me overprotective all you want, but it's the truth all the same.
My heart skipped a beat at Amma's sincere feelings of wanting to keep me safe, and I could feel a big smile grow on my face. Amma, why do you have to make me feel so many things this early in the morning? I just want to hug you so much right now.
Hehehehe. At least you didn't yell that out loud. Also, calm down. The blankets and wood in the room are starting to smoke.
Kino, I get that you're happy right now, but please rein in your heat.
I took several deep breaths to get everything back under control. I'm good now, but also in a bind. I want to absolve your worries, Amma. but I also want to go see this well of knowledge.
Asno,
Is it the price that you're worried about, or something else?
not in the slightest. The price is negligible. Though it differs from person to person, it's usually something valuable or, in the worst case, a small amount of lifespan. Though that was only once, and even then, it was only a year. I asked Fia about this last night, and even she said that the price wasn't anything to worry about for either of you.
So, it's something else then.
Oh, I have an idea.
Let's hear it then.
So we go to this well of knowledge, and in the event that I do get hurt somehow, I let you take full care of me when I see you again?
Yes, I like that. But what if you don't get physically hurt, but mentally?
Simple. Just make sure you overwrite the mental pain with something better. We do have a promise to fulfill after all, so why not hold off one more month if it'll be helpful?
Kino, though I'm not actually sure since I've never experienced it, but sex doesn't solve everything.
Sure, but it can make things easier to put off until later. And besides, we both know I'm more mentally tough than that. I wouldn't let a little mental trauma get to me.
If I may, since healing magic falls under your life authority, wouldn't you just need to use its full power on Kino if something happened to her mentally? I mean, I know it doesn't work like that for a mortal like myself, but I can't not think you would be different, being the goddess of life and all.
Orca. Prom. Are you some kind of genius or something? Why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's so simple. Hey! Why am I so dumb sometimes?
I gave Pram a thumbs up and she returned the gesture with one of her own. Well, with this figured out, we can go visit this well of knowledge. And me and Amma don't have to hold back next solar convergence.
Sigh. The two of you should just do it already so Kino stops talking about it.
What do you mean? I thought I keep all these things bottled up.
Yeah, when you're awake. You know you talk in your sleep a lot, right?
I do?
Yeah.
I could feel my earlier embarrassment returning tenfold.
Pram! Why did you have to say something about that? Now she'll try to never sleep.
Sorry.
Chaos Realm.
Foo. Stupid, now fluffless mongrels. That'll teach you to be a disgrace to all that is fluffy.
Oh, you did the same thing you did to those other three. Who is the fluff you've taken from them going to?
Kino and Amaterasu, obviously. I just need them to come here again so I can give it to them personally.
I love that mischievous smile of yours so much.
And that accomplishes my second goal. Come here, Tamemo. Let me cuddle you into fluffy oblivion.
Gladly.
Author Paytoechip.